Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can anybody hear me in the chat? If you can, please hit the like button or at least put one in the chat. I think I only have one person watching right now, so I don't know if anybody can actually hear me. Make sure my mic volume is up. Okay. Tony Jordan, thank you for the one. What's going on, bro? All right, now that we got a one the confirmation that that people can hear me. Let me just set it off now. Thank you all for joining us. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Car Talk, episode 281. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including some of the ones that I'm going to be posting tonight. Lionel will not be joining us tonight. He is not available. So there will be no crypto talk tonight. There will just be Black Car Talk tonight. This is something that was unscheduled. So I did not anticipate doing this actually tonight. I anticipated doing this Saturday night. So, but it's cool. We can actually make it work. All right. Let me check the panel. If you want to join us, make sure you raise your hand or else we won't be able to see you in the chat waiting. And we have our first member to join the panel. Going 11. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Mike? What's going on, baby?
I'm chilling, fam. Chill, man.
All right, man.
Yeah. So
Black Car Talk tonight.
Yeah, Lionel's not going to be able to host tonight, so he's away. So we'll take the opportunity to have this conversation. Was going to do this Saturday, but I didn't want to leave any gaps in the calendar, so.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that coming war on China, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, man. It's something we'll have to swing back around to. Definitely tomorrow night, man, is going to be fire too. But we'll wait till after the hangout to actually post that. But yeah, tonight is Black Car Talk, man. I think that you might be interested in this as well. So what defines an exotic car, supercar, and a sports car?
What defines an exotic car, a supercar, a sports car?
Yeah. So there's three categories, right? And I'm bringing this up because I read an article this morning or last night about Volkswagen not bringing over what they call the Golf R. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with it, but see, when we start talking about supercars and all that kind of stuff, you can get any car that can get a lot of high performance. I think what really separates a lot of these cars, and what I can see, is from the manufacturers, the rare aspect of the parts that you can find, because they make very specific parts for that car that make it very rare and expensive. And I think that's what really separates them is the parts they make for the car that they don't mass manufacture. You can't get a lot of places, and that's what makes it rare, because they put stuff in there that, or they design parts that you just can't find every place. You have to go directly to them to get it, and that's what makes it a rare type of vehicle, because you can get any car to put performance in it. They got kit cars out here that can run damn near at a Counter-Sec level. Is what it is. But when Ferrari or McLaren or whatever they put a McLaren race, Formula One engine into a vehicle, that's very hard to find or design. Very rare. You can't just go to you just can't go to Napa Auto Parts and then fix it. You can't go there. You have to go there. That's what makes the cars rare and exotic. The pieces or the parts that are manufactured for that vehicle. And that's really how I define it. I know the other guys will look at it differently, but I'll just leave it as that.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with you. If you're talking about an exotic, right? I think exotic and super have similarities, but seem to mean different things, right? A supercar, based on what I know and based on my interpretation of it, is that it's a high-end car that is street legal trackable. So your Ford GT, the recent one that just came out, that's a supercar. An exotic would be a Koenigsegg. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah,
because the Koenigsegg is the next step up from a supercar, right? Which would be completely exotic. They only make one, and in order for you to get one, you have to go fly all the way to the factory and spec it out, and then have them build it. And it's a one of one, right? So that makes it exotic.
And it only has pieces for that car. You can go nowhere to fix that car.
Yeah, there is no AutoZone.
Nowhere. There's no AutoZone. There's no Napa Auto Parts. There's nothing for that. Even the tires, you can't really go to TireRack.com and just order them online and just roll them in. The tires. I mean, you probably can get a composite that could fairly match it, but they have tires specifically designed for that car. Everything is spec made on that vehicle. That's what makes it exceedingly rare. So that's why they could put a price tag over $1 million for a car like that, close to $1 million for a vehicle like that. That's a house. That's a really nice crib, and you're driving that around. I mean, so it's a very, very exotic. It's a very exotic, and it is a supercar. I mean, let's put it like this: I can take a Toyota Supra, a 98, 99, 2000, 2003, 2004 Toyota Supra. Totally jack that engine up and put 1,000 horsepower into that car. You can do it. And that car will give you exceedingly high levels of performance, supercar performance. It's Supra. But then again, you can go anywhere and get parts for a Supra, pretty much. But it's operating with supercar, with supercar performance, 0 to 60, 3 seconds, cracking a quarter mile in 10 seconds and all this kind of stuff. You can do that with, fixing that car. Now, is that a supercar now, or is that just a jacked up Supra?
So that's a good point. Let me take a second. Shout out to Tony Jordan. Good evening to Raining Woman. What's up, Marcus 376? When you take, because a Supra is known as a sports car. So if you modify it, then it's still a sports car, right? It doesn't matter, it doesn't excuse me. It doesn't matter what you do to the car. If the car was born as a sports car, it's going to be a sports car, no matter what you do to it. It's always a sports car. It's just a really fast sports car, right? It will never be anything than what it was. And this is the problem that I have with like the Ford Mustang and the Chevy Camaro, right? It started off as an economy car, right? It was very low end, and it's sold at a bargain basement price. And then they jack it up with all these modifications and stuff like that, and then they sell it at sports car prices. I have a problem, buying the same chassis that a guy who spent $25,000 on it. I'm spending $70K on it. It was going on Super Triz.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. I mean, if let's say you were going to buy a GTR or something of that nature, and or let's say when they had the that Super Snake that they had coming out, they were trying to sell for 90, 80, 90 grand or whatever, comes off the same line as as your 6-cylinder, Mustang as well. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same one, same production.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why they have such a hard time maintaining their value. With an exotic and a supercar, that sucker's going to maintain its value no matter what year it is, no matter what decade it is. It's always going to be the same. It may depreciate somewhat or it may fluctuate. The volatility is there, but it never goes down to bargain basement prices.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on the the model. I mean, the Testarossa, you can still, you can get affordable Testarossas today, even though that was a 1990s car, very heavy.
But you can't
Lot
get an
of
F40.
no, but the F40, or they even had the one called the F40 Evolution. I don't know if you saw that one.
Mm-hmm.
Very exotic.
Mm-hmm.
Deep race car. That's a collector's car. That's a collector's car. Because that car is exceedingly rare. And the Evolution, that's a car you could actually literally buy and put on the track. I saw it running SCCA Trans Am.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was getting out of Evolution, opening the front door. It was pretty funny. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
look at this. So this was late 90s, early 2000s, but they were driving that, they were literally buying a car from showroom floor or whatever, not so much showroom, but you had a special ordered car and you could go racing in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But 100G ride, so
Mm-hmm.
run grand. So
Yeah, at the time it was 100 Gs. Today you'd be hard pressed to get a Testarossa at 100 Gs.
Well, I'm talking about Evolution. I'm talking about
The
Testarossa.
Evolution. Oh, the Testarossa. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. The Testarossa. You can look on Edmunds.com and those kind of things, and they have Testarossas for sale. Guys are selling those cars. It's not as rare as one thought, and it wasn't considered really that great of a car, to be honest with you. But the real race cars are the real the F40s and all that. You don't see you ain't gonna see an F40 for sale on Edmunds.
No, you got to go straight to the dealership. And Ferrari, and it's a good point that you bring that up. Ferrari Financial, which is the banking sector of Ferrari and Fiat, will finance any Ferrari that you want as long as you can afford it. So they understand the value of their cars, man. And the reason why they don't have entry level Ferraris, outside of the California T, because they're not meant to be. This is a fraternity. When you get a Ferrari, you're a part of a special group, and that's what maintains the value. When you buy a
That's
Camaro,
exactly right.
yeah, when you buy a Camaro or a Mustang, you're getting your oil change next to the same guy who has a a Chevy Aveo or a Ford Escort, and that doesn't feel good. It doesn't.
I mean, you put in different classes. The F40 for Ferrari back in the day, the racing version of the Evolution and all that, you could not even buy that car unless they wanted you to have a racing license. They wanted you to have a racing license. And if you didn't have a racing license, then you had to be one of these big top end players, basically in the racing game, in the car game. They said this shit is only designed for the most butterlate of the game, and that was pretty much about it. They weren't giving that just to regular Joes. They weren't even marketing the car to regular people. They're like, this is not for the regular guy unless you have a racing license. You got to go to Bondurant Racing School or one of these other racing schools that are out here, Ruse or whatever. All right, go get a racing license, get a certain number of racing points so you can get on a track, and and you have the money. We'll consider selling you the vehicle. That's where these guys were coming from. So is what it is. That's how they were marketing that car specifically for the racing enthusiast, and not just some guy who just likes racing and sits down and watches races. You got to be, you got to put some time in on the track. You got to have some track time. You got to have a racing license. You have to understand to get involved in various levels of racing. You got carts and everything else like that. But when you start to get into the big equipment racing, you have to go to racing school, and you have to get a Series 1. You have to get the various series licenses that will provide you to get on these various tracks and race, because you just ain't getting on a track and just racing because you just want to. You have to be technically trained to get out there and play with the big boys, and there's a lot of skill to driving a race car, because on the track there is a limited. You can't get on a racetrack and race under, say, 90 miles an hour. Everything has to be 120 miles an hour and over. Okay, depending on kind of what series you're in, and these are high speeds. So you got to know what you're doing at these speeds, and you got to have skills, and you have to procure that skill set on the track. Now, if Paul Bryant's here, he can certainly sit down and kind of speak to that as well. But I've been on it. I understand exactly how that works, and it's a serious game. So Ferrari and them were playing a game of you ain't getting this car unless you've been on the track. And I'm not talking about just hanging out for the weekend. You better have a racing license, which of course you got to go to racing school. So just entry level is about $2,500. Then now you're talking about easily now about $5-6 grand just to hang out for almost a month. And if you want to put the full racing time in, that's going to cost you up to 25 grand to get the various licenses you need. It's not a joke. So it's serious money. You got to put a lot of money behind it. So there we go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's bring Super Triz in, man. What's going on, fam?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? What's going on, Nagon?
What's going on, man? How you doing, baby?
Yeah, it was interesting. You talk about Ferrari, because Ferrari goes to great lengths to protect their brand cachet and image. And what you'll find with Ferraris is that certain levels of Ferraris are unavailable to individuals who haven't had a history of purchasing Ferraris.
Yeah, that's true as well.
You can't just walk in and say, oh, I want that. What is that? Is it the SP or SF90, the new Stradale?
Yeah.
Ferrari, the upper echelon.
Stradale.
Yeah. You can't just walk in. I don't care how much money you got. You can't just walk in there and say, I want that Ferrari. They want to see a history of you have purchasing Ferraris and gradually, working your way up the food chain as far as purchases are concerned. And then once you actually get that Ferrari, they still want to control that imagery to the tune of, you can't just go on Facebook and YouTube and put some get some neon purple paint job and brandish the Ferrari with some aftermarket stuff that Ferrari doesn't approve of, because they will send you a cease and desist.
Man, you are spitting,
Yep.
talking the truth. Bottom line, right there.
That's why rappers have a hard time
rappers,
buying.
drug dealers, all of they ain't selling you that car.
No, they gotta buy it salvage. They gotta buy it salvage at some auction or something like that. Only then can they do it. And then just an engine job on a Ferrari is $50K out the gate. I don't care where you go in the world. It's $50K.
$50K just to get the engine on.
This is the reason why you see the reason why you see the rappers, they tend to gravitate towards the Lamborghinis. And a lot of the athletes tend to gravitate towards the Lamborghinis. Yep. Because Lamborghinis will sell to anybody with the money.
Yeah.
Well, even that's starting to stop now too. That's starting to stop now too. So like your the new exotic Lamborghinis, the high beyond the Huracans, those ones beyond the Aventadors, those special ones, those 1 of 25, 1 of 50, they can't get those either.
You can't get it. You can't get a Veneno. You can't get a Reventon. It's very difficult to get your hands on an SV.
Yep.
So yeah, they are controlling, but I mean they can do that, because what happens is that you'll have like some of these Middle Eastern guys, like I'm talking about the ones with real wealth.
Yeah, the oil tycoons.
They'll buy like 10 of them just so they can have 5 of them sit in their collection and not drive at all. Like this is what they do. Like they just had a story about, I forgot what car that is, the one that uses the rough tune flat 6. It looks like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's like a custom build.
It's like I think it's FEHYR or something like that. Anyway, it has like a weird spelling. Yeah, some Middle Eastern guy just bought just bought 5 of them. And those cars, I want to say, how much do those cars cost?
It's $1 million.
Yeah. And so like a lot of times they'll buy the cars and like, I mean, like if you look online, you'll find footage of some of these guys' car collection, cars with 0 miles, like F40s. You talk about F40s. These cats with F40s with 0 miles.
Yeah, and remember the F40 was a race car. So like I said, I remember back in the day, because I saw one running over at Lime Rock, and this one dude had it, and he was kicking it around the track, and the car sounded crazy sexy. And then when he was downshifting, coming into the sharp turns, the car was like, and you saw fire coming out of the.
Oh yeah,
fire just blasting out of the tailpipes, and people were like, "Oh, oh, look at that!" It was hilarious. It was hilarious. That car was kicking, spitting. I was like,
because that car is made of carbon fiber. It's the first car made of full carbon fiber.
It was crazy. And I was like, look at this, brother. You had to be a race car driver basically at that time to get that car. You had that big dough, but you had to have a racing pedigree to even purchase the car. So they weren't selling that to regular Joes, and they knew they could sell a car to anybody. But
good
was a
thing
marketing
you
plan.
racing. Good thing you mentioned the racing pedigree, because some of the higher end Ferrari models like the FXX and the 599 FXX and the Evo, you can't even take that car off the track. You pay for the car to the tune of a couple million, and you can't even take that car home with you. It has to stay at the Ferrari track. I think it's at a Fiorano, and I think they have a track stateside. And if there's like a series race in another location, then they will take the car to the location for you, but you have to pay for it.
Yep.
Well, that also means the car's not. Also means the car's not streetable. So that means it's not a street car.
No, it's streetable. It's streetable, but the stipulations when you buy it is that you cannot drive it on the street.
Okay, well, that's fair. Well, I'm basically saying that's not really a streetable car. I mean, maybe it is, but you got to understand streetable. You can drive the car to the store and back. But these cars, a lot of times, they're revving so high and the engines are running so high. If you even keep it in low gear for too long, it begins to wear. It begins to wear, and it gets. And the car's like, and it's like it's not designed to be really. I mean, you can, but it's not. You're gonna run your car.
Well, Ferrari is co-managing the value of that vehicle to make sure it doesn't spiral out of control. They control the maintenance on it. Because my dealership is a Ferrari dealership that I locally that I have to go to if I want a supercar, right? If I want one of those cars, I have to go to the Ferrari dealership. And I talked with a couple of the mechanics in the dealership, and they said that basically it costs $20 a mile to drive a Ferrari. $20 a mile. So if you put 10,000 miles on that car, on that Ferrari, you can almost guarantee what the total cost of maintenance is gonna run you for that first time around.
The car's designed to run on the track, and you're gonna wear parts out very quickly because of high revving, high pressure. What's the compression ratio in a car like that? It's got to be something like maybe 13:10 to 1 or something crazy, some crazy compression ratio it would have. So that engine is going to be running out of it. At a very high rate. And if you're not running that engine hard around a track and you're running it slow, you might blow the engine out after a while. I mean, it's not a car you want to be just driving around locally. I don't really see it.
A lot of those track specials, number one, their suspension is so damn rigid. Like you don't want to drive it on the street because a lot of there's components.
Yeah.
I would totally on bumpy roads. All that shock is going straight to the chassis, into your sensitive components. You're gonna damage that car driving on the street. That's for one. It's too low. Then you have tire compounds that are specifically designed for the track. You're gonna wear out the tires, in like 300 miles because you're driving on the regular street. It's just not very practical to drive those cars on the street. And then a lot of them don't have AC. They have plexiglass windows with like a little opening that you got to slide.
Acrylic.
Open. Yeah, so it's like. It's really not very there's no sound deadening, so you hear every little creak, squeak, and
that's exactly correct. Yeah. It's not made for the street. Yeah, you hear everything coming through the cabin. Exactly correct.
Now the opposite, coincidentally, the opposite is that when it comes to Bugatti, because now you see T-Pain, he crashed his Bugatti, couldn't afford the maintenance on it, so he got rid of it. I mean, this is embarrassing, right? If you're Bugatti, you're like, I don't want that, this yo-yo, this Momo driving driving our image into the ground. I read another article last year about some guy tried to run an insurance job on his Bugatti by driving it into a river and then saying that he saw a deer or a rabbit or something like that, and he's
That was in Texas.
yeah, just crazy stuff that these guys are doing.
The T-Pain, you know what happened to T-Pain was that I think I don't know if it was a rock or a bird hit one of his radiators. And so, okay, well, his first wake-up call was when he had to replace the tires. I think the tires, he said the tires cost $30,000 just to replace the tires because it was a special compound made by Michelin.
Yep.
And so it was like $30,000 to replace the tires. And so that was the first strike. And then what happened was, I think a bird or a rock hit his radiator. One of it, because you know that car has like 4 radiators. Hit one of his radiators on the Bugatti. And when they told him how much it cost, he said he had to sell it. He couldn't afford it.
You see, Ferrari is never going to sell to a sucker laid like that, because that's the last thing they want is a straight sucker. Repping their ride. That's why you got racing enthusiasts. I mean, guys who will really race car drivers, or real serious racing enthusiasts, and like you were saying, people who had a very strong history of owning the Ferrari before, because they only want that in the hands of certain people. They don't want no sucker laid nigars and a bunch of other white trash driving their car around. They don't want that bullshit. They want serious players driving their vehicles, because it's an image that Ferrari wants to keep up. And it is that of a racing DNA, a racing kind of heritage. That's what they want. They just don't want the straight sucker driving around, with gold tooth in his freaking mouth and his hat backwards, looking crazy.
Somebody has feedback. I think it might be Super Dread.
They don't want that. Can you hear anything? Can you hear me?
No, it's gone now. It's gone now.
They don't want that shit, man. So they're keeping that a tight lid on it. And I understand exactly why they want to do it, because a lot of people can't afford that car. But
look at Birdman. Birdman is holding on to that car with damn near 1 million miles on it, looking like a Momo, man, and with red wheels and all this other customized stuff. That would never happen with a Ferrari.
Never gonna happen.
No, that would never happen. But to the point of the topic tonight, Bugatti would be considered a exotic car.
Yeah.
They just manage things differently. I think because it's owned by Volkswagen, but they just manage things differently. I think at some point they will probably get to where Ferrari is, where it is for basically running like a fraternity. But it's too late for that. Well, I shouldn't say it's too late, but when you have Momos, and I'm not talking about the wheel, you have Momos like T-Pain and
Hello.
What's going on, Ty City?
Hey, what's going on, man? I just tapped in.
Chilling, man. Let me make this point. I'll let you jump in. You have Momos like T-Pain and this other yo-yo down in Texas and Birdman putting spinners on Bugattis and stuff. It just ruins the brand, and then people don't want anything to do with it, man. People who can't afford it, like I don't really want that. And next thing you know, it's on Craigslist or something like that, going for like bargain basement prices. Like, well, I'm gonna part it out. No, you don't part an exotic car out. No, you sell it whole. That's what you do. You don't do things like that. Like it's a different ball game, and that's why we have to really define what exotic, super, and sports car means. Because I was reading an article last night, which is what brought this topic to me, was that Volkswagen is not going to bring the Golf R over for 2020. So, and they called it a sports car, and I was blown away. I said, "That's a sports car? I didn't know that." But that's what they consider it. They consider the Golf R a sports car, but then they also considered the 911 to be a sports car, and then they consider the Supra to be a sports car. And so how do you square the circle with so many different variables for how you define a sports car? It's kind of crazy.
Well, they blurring the lines with touring cars also.
Yep. I mean, they're crossing. They're trying to cross over, but the true exotic, the true, supercar that you really have, it's a rare vehicle that is marketed a certain way. So really, there are only certain kind of people that are going to get their hands on this thing. All right, you just can't
Yeah,
have a T-Pain or any other Momo driving up and grab it. That's why I respect Ferrari for what they do. And they only make that car really for a certain clientele. That's just kind of how they roll it. The same. I mean, I've seen a lot of McLarens out here. I got to get. There's a guy really around my hood. He's got a McLaren, and he lives in this big giant mansion with about 4 families in there, or his whole family's up in there. And these guys are making some pretty big money. They're in the plumbing business, but he's got a McLaren, and he kicks that around.
McLaren wants everybody to have a McLaren who had a.
They definitely want everybody to have a McLaren if they can afford it. They definitely do. They want a McLaren.
They go through great lengths to get you into that car. But they're selling so many McLarens. Ferrari is worried.
Well, Ferrari's got to worry because at the end of the day, it comes down to who's going to grab market share, and that's the part. I respect Ferrari for holding tight to the type of person they want in that car. I can respect that because they're trying to keep a racing pedigree up in there. Can they hold it? Because it comes down to the money after a while. I don't know if they're gonna be able to hold it because it comes down to the cash. But that's what's up.
Yeah, Ferrari straight up came out and said, "We're not making SUVs. We're not in the SUV business."
Nah, they're not doing it. Porsche and all them, they're all in there. So it's a money game. In the exotic car game, it's a very profitable business. So I understand it where they're coming from for the money. I understand it. Ferrari is trying to hold out. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold out like that for a while because you've got these supercars coming out. I mean, and literally, selling it to anybody. Why is it McLaren? The McLaren that's an F1 engine, toned down, but you could literally take that engine out of that car, put it into the framework of an F1 race car, and geek it up, and you go racing in that thing. That's the engine you have in there. That's what's up.
Well, what do you think about cars like the Koenigsegg?
Oh, we were just talking about the Koenigsegg is another vehicle. I mean, the price range is going to keep a lot of sucker lades out of there. And it's a totally, the sucker lades, all the pikers and the sucker lades have been priced out of that freaking game. Okay, but it's also a pretty dangerous car. Light carbon body, monocoque, the whole deal. Extremely fast. You can go airborne on that car if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And when you go airborne on that car, you're finished. You're gone. You're dead. So
the thing does 300 miles an hour, man.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you catch some air underneath that car, and you're in the air. You're in the air. I mean, the downforce is crazy, but still.
They would classify that car as a hyper car though.
Yeah, but hypercar falls into the same category as exotic.
Exotic. I mean, it's very exotic because they only
make
it. They only make it there. You can't go to Saab or Vegan or whatever. It's a vegan. I mean, it's like it is an aircraft for all practical purposes. But
it's funny you said something about T-Pain. It's funny you said something about T-Pain. I guess he going down the drift racing thing, and he got one of the most goofiest, cheapest, poorly made, off-brand tire like rim companies sponsoring him, and he just been getting roasted.
Well, yeah, he's a brand ambassador. Because he's hurting for money too. You have to keep that in mind. I don't think his royalty checks are coming in like that. Because if they were, he would have been able. He would have been able to afford that Bugatti. He got out of that thing immediately. Because Vin Wiki on YouTube, shout out to Vin Wiki. They talked about that, man. T-Pain's car and the Lamborghinis and not the Gallardo.
T-Pain is a Momo.
Oh yeah, he's a number one Momo. He's the number one Momo. He looks like a couple of guys in the manosphere. I won't mention any names here, but
come on, Mike.
He does, man. He does. But guys like that, man, they are BICK riders, man. They always showing up with something, expensive, trying to floss, man, and they look like idiots. But now I think I see he has a Dodge Challenger, I think a Hellcat or something like that. Oh, that fits in his price bracket because he's a Momo. And that's how he gets down, man. He wants something fast and cheap, just like most of the guys in the South do. They don't really care about cars, culture in the same way that we do. Like we go over everything with a fine tooth comb. We look at things from top to bottom. Guy like T-Pain, he sees something with a price tag, he's like, I'm gonna get that because ain't nobody else got it. That sort of
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna get that Bugatti. And
Did you?
next thing you know, the tires. Do you think that Nito? You think Nito makes tires for that? No. Get your ass out there.
Did you hear about Ferrari? They put a cease and desist on this guy. He painted the Ferrari green, and
Yeah.
he took pictures of it with some green shoes he got to match. They put a cease and desist out for him to take down all the pictures and stuff that he been. I guess he tried to document it, and they was not feeling it.
Yeah. Because they do the same thing with the Liberty Walk cars too. They're definitely not feeling it.
But
Really?
see, that's the activities of an extraordinary Momo. So what they say is we got to shut these Momos down. I mean that's what you get when you sell these cars to these folks.
Oh wait! I'm going Momo. Listen, when I first seen Justin Bieber's, I think he had the 458, I think it was, with the Liberty Walk. I thought that shit was hard at SEMA. I ain't even gonna front. That motherfucker was hard at SEMA.
Yeah,
That
it
Liberty
was.
Walk kid is hard on that Ferrari.
Yeah, it was because it was like one of the first ones anybody's ever seen. But now you got 20 different Ferraris out there that got the same exact thing, man. And these I don't want to bash millennials, man, but these millennials really ruined the market for these vehicles, man. Because back in the day, you would have never seen anybody put ridiculous modifications and stance and stuff like that to their cars, man.
Justin Bieber is an extraordinary Momo.
Oh yeah. That wouldn't have happened back
You
in
know
the
what? You know what? I don't think he actually opted for that kit. I think he'd go to like some West Coast Customs and just cut them a check to just do some stuff. I highly doubt he knows anything about Liberty Walk at all, or the wheels that he had on. He had like some stupid one-off three-piece wheels on there.
Oh no, because West Coast Customs is the manufacturing of Momo. The Momo manufacturers. So, these guys would fit so well into the Momo sphere. These guys. Instead of the manosphere, it's the Momo sphere, man. You got these guys running around with these big, stupid, giant wings on their cars. Remember back in the day, man, when Fast and Furious first came out, you had guys out here with Chrysler Cirrus or the Dodge Avenger and whatnot with big stupid wings on there and coffee can exhaust and knockoff N-key wheels. Like, how can you knock off N-key, right? N-key wheels supposed to be affordable, and these guys still knock those off, man. So you had a lot of Momos coming out of that generation, man, and they proliferated to this very day. No one's ever checked them, I honestly think that and I'm not an advocate for violence, man. I think anytime you see a Momo like that, man, you just punch him in his mouth, man. You don't even wait for him to say what's up, like that. Still on that nigga as soon as you see him, man.
Hey, where would you classify that Lamborghini Urus?
The Urus is a super truck. It's a super truck.
A super truck.
Yeah, that thing's fast, man. That's a fast truck, man. I mean, it's basically a Huracan with 4 doors and in the V8.
I'm passing on it.
Yeah, well, you have to understand that those trucks print money, man. Trucks print money. Let me just finish this real quick. If you look at the quarterly sales for SUVs, those things print lots and lots of money. That's why Volvo makes the XC40, the XC60, the XC90. They print so much money for them. Even Jaguar, their F-Pace truck, that thing sells bundles every month compared to the rest of the coupes and the sedans. They make just as much money off of the trucks than all of the cars combined.
That is exactly why Porsche jumped into that market
Yep.
years ago. They knew the deal, man. You know, and then they could put a female behind the wheel too, and then say put a baby seat in there. You can still freaking drive this thing around. And look at these Cayennes. I get nervous. I get nervous in Westchester driving around. I see these crazy broads driving around. Half of them old clothes driving around Cayennes, whipping around the corner. It's like, oh Lord, be careful.
Going, those things are maintenance nightmares. If you
They're
buy
maintenance
1 second,
nightmares, but a lot of these women around here got them, and they're driving them around like
because they drive them into the ground. They need an oil change. They can't afford the $150 oil change or $20 oil change that's required. Water pump failures are very frequent on those. Water pumps.
But but I tell you what, they're selling like Aunt Jemima's pancakes.
Because it's all lease. It's all lease.
But they're moving them. They're moving.
Yeah, they're moving. They're moving.
They're moving them. They're moving inventory. And that's what I see. I'm saying that's what I see. That's why they got into that market years ago, and other guys are following. So you hit it right on the head. They're following it.
Yeah. Well, this is the reason. This is the reason why I guarantee you. I know y'all. I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but Ferrari is gonna put out an SUV. I don't care what nobody say. It's gonna be sometime in the future, but it's gonna happen. Now, but let me ask you this, Mike. Now, if the Urus is considered a super truck, then wouldn't you have to consider the Trackhawk a super truck as well?
It is. They all fall into the same category.
Oh, one
new
more
class.
thing.
New class. Yep.
Also, you guys talked about Liberty Walk. We can't forget the originator of the insane body kits on expensive cars, Mansory.
Oh yeah,
Mansory's the one that started all that.
Yeah, but he didn't have all the bolts and rivets and stuff showing on it. Like it was really blended in. Whereas with Liberty Walk, it's just obnoxious to even have. And they did it in such a way that was it garnered that sort of attention. This obnoxious look that works on like a Honda S2000 or something like that, or like a Nissan 370Z or something like that. But when you start talking about Ferraris and Lambos and stuff like that, that kind of just destroys the whole entire market, because those cars are about prestige, and the Liberty Walk destroys the prestige of those vehicles. Now nobody wants to be pulled up at Cars and Coffee with the guy who has a Liberty Walk kit on it, and they're at the same dealership. That's exactly what's going to ruin the market for those vehicles, and that's why.
Don't forget.
You think? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Lambo made up. Lambo made an all-wheel drive vehicle. All-wheel drive. They got that out there. All-wheel drive or off-roader.
Okay, look. Okay. Check this out. Let's talk Lamborghini, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love the Murcielago. I don't know why. I think it is way better than the Aventador or anything they've done recently. I think every time I see one, especially when I see one in person, I'll just be like, I don't know how they got to the Aventador from the Murcielago. I don't know how they even made that.
Keep in mind that the Murcielago was the evolution of the Diablo.
But see, you're talking about aesthetics, but the actual car itself, like the Murcielago, is a single clutch. I guess you want to call it Tiptronic. It has like the paddle shifters, but it's a single. No, I think it also came with a stick too. But it's a single clutch.
It came with a gated stick. It came gated.
Yeah, but from every review, the actual clutch uptake, the gear engagement was horrible on the Murcielago. Visibility was terrible. It really wasn't a well-designed car by most people's accounts that's owned them.
Yeah, but think about the essence of a Lamborghini though. Like the Countach wasn't easy to drive either. None of those cars was.
It wasn't meant to be driven either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I just think that the essence of a Lamborghini is died after the Murcielago. Like the Aventador don't capture it. To me, it doesn't.
Mhm. Yeah, the Aventador kind of is kind of like a big brother to the Gallardo, right? So yeah, I see your point though. I see your point, but you really can't deny that four-wheel steering on the Aventador. But yeah, what I'm saying here, man, is that we've defined what an exotic car is, what a supercar is, but then how do you define a sports car, right? Can the Mustang be a sports car if it's sold at an economy model that's you can get at Hertz or Enterprise for a day for like $25, or is it in the same category as a Porsche 911? Porsche 911 is considered to be a sports car.
See, because I've heard the term pony car when it
Mustang
comes
is
to
definitely a
Mustangs.
sports car. Yeah, I think
I've
the
heard,
Mustang, even the Camaro, these are all bona fide sports cars. When you look at the actual benchmark performance, like you look at, when we talk about sports cars, we're not talking about 0 to 60. We talk 0 to 100, 0 to 100 to 0, 50 to 75 acceleration, slalom. You start looking at some of the performance numbers coming out of these cars. It's no doubt about it that they're sports cars. I think the difference is that the volumes that they're sold in, the accessibility, those can be some kind of disappointing factors because I used to have a Mustang GT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time I was in a Mustang GT and I seen a girl in a V6 Mustang, and it just really I just looked at it and I was like, God damn it, why she gotta have this Mustang? You know what I mean? Like, anybody can get it.
Yeah. It's just like these Momos. Anybody can get it.
Yeah. And that's what they do.
would you call a Subaru a rally car? Would you call a WRX a rally car?
I would probably say with
the WRX STI, the old STIs.
Yeah, would you call that a rally car?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I've seen it on the track. Yeah, I've seen guys run those. Yeah, so I would. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I've seen one guy. A dude had one that was basically stock. He put in a performance suspension, roll cage he had in there, 6-point harness he put in there. Didn't do really too much else to the engine. Geeked it up a little bit and took it out rallying, and that shit was nuts. That's a rally car. That's a rally car. It's real. The DNA on that car is real. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That is a rally car. So I will give it its credit.
See, the thing is, the rally car is not an actual category for classification when you buy a car. It's not like you go to a dealership, a certain dealership. You say, oh, well, I'm going to the looking for a rally car. What do you have? Well, the only thing we have is Subaru. There's no, that conversation is not happening, right? But when you want a sports car, when you want a exotic and a supercar, there is a dealership strictly for that, right? So what I'm saying here is that from a sports car standpoint, they've blurred the line so much that there's a lot of cross dressers out here, man. There's a lot of Momos, funk,
sure,
man.
Yeah, cause see,
can I present this to you?
Yes, sir.
What about defining a sports car as a model that is a homologation of an actual track car? Because a lot of the cars that we consider sports cars are actually have a race equivalent, a race variant,
right?
That you actually see on the track. Like even like race series cars, like maybe some of the but then that's pushing it because you got NASCAR that they did a Ford Contour, and a Ford Contour is definitely not a sports car, but they have a NASCAR equivalent of that.
Well, see, because my definition of a sports car would be something of like a Corvette or a Porsche or something that.
Right.
I don't see Mustangs and Camaros and like those are pony cars or muscle cars, or I don't consider those sporty. They might be fast, but I don't consider them sports cars.
There's only one American original sports car, and that is or I like to say, like Carol Shelby say, sport. I call them sport cars.
gone. We lost you.
Hello?
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Okay, so
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I had somebody just fucking irritate me. But the original sport car is the Corvette.
Oh yeah, you're right about that.
That's the only American original sport car.
Well, would you
And
throw
that
the
is-
Trans
and
Am?
that's
Would
the
you throw?
vet.
Would you throw the Trans Am in there?
Nah, man, fuck that.
okay, let me ask you this.
Man. Burt Reynolds in the fucking and in the band and all that.
But see, because you got
What about the Ford Mustang GT 350 and GT 350R? Now you trying to tell me those aren't actual sports cars?
There's only one. There's
to
only
me,
one American. There's only one original American sport car. That is the Vet. That's it.
because you know what?
In their current iteration, is it considered a sports car? You have to have criteria to be considered anything. So if you want to have a sports car category, state some criteria and then tell me why the Ford Mustang GT350 is not considered a sports car.
A sports car doesn't have back seats.
Mustang GT350R doesn't have back seats.
It has a flat bench. Is the seats are removed.
Right? Okay. And then the Ford Mustang GT350R, the power band is such that for streetability purposes, it's not the best car because all the power band is shifted to the high RPM.
I don't consider those cars sporty in nature. Not because they are fast, because they're not sports cars to me. They have their own class, but they're not sports cars.
And you got to tell me why. You got to give me an argument because I'm not buying it.
Well, because like I said, like us. Okay, so Chevy knows that the Camaro and the Corvette is not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Chevy knows what? That the Camaro and the what?
The Camaro and the Corvette is not the same.
Well, the Camaro was
The
supposed to be
Corvette was originally a 2-seat car. It was designed to be a sport car. That is its original design, and it stuck to it. All these other car, 4-seaters and everything else like that. The Corvette was originally a sport car, 2-seat car. That's what that.
Yeah, it was born. It was born that way.
It was born that way. That's what it was in 1955.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they don't have if it came down.
A Porsche has back seats. It's a 2+2. Now, see, here's the thing, right? You got to look at the Camaro in its initially it was designed to be a pony car, but because of globalization, right, and to appeal Mustang as well, to appeal to a global marketplace, they actually changed the driving characteristics and the dynamics of the car. It's a sports car now, both of them. There's no doubt about it. Now, obviously, it's at a different price point than the Corvette, so there are limitations, and then obviously, because it's at a different price point, it's aimed at a different buyer, and they have to invoke some practicality. This is the reason why you have back seats.
Well,
the original design of a Porsche was designed for the roofline to go around the driver. Nobody can sit in the back of a Porsche.
No, they're kid seats. They're child seats. That's what they're really for.
Okay, so with that argument, the SC 430 is a sports car. Nobody can sit in those back seats either.
The SC4, it's a Lexus.
Yes, nobody can sit in those back seats.
Yeah,
that's along the lines of a touring car.
Yeah, he's right about that. To an extent, that will be like Grand Tourer. But would you throw the Infinity G37 Q what is it, the Q60? You would throw that into the sports car category as well?
Okay, well, what about
the Q60?
A base 911? Base 911 might as well be a Grand Tour as well.
It is now. Now it's a GT. It is considered a GT. It's a GT sports car. Is what they call it. How they come up with these? Okay,
so even the SCCA classifications, even though you could say a Mustang, a Camaro, and a Corvette, they're gonna put the Mustang and the Camaro in a different class.
Mustang and the Camaro in a different class?
It's gonna be a different class than the Corvette.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. But how it's sold on the market is different, right? They sell it
No,
as
I understand that they sell these cars as sports cars. You know what I'm saying? But those cars are meant to be their number one.
Mhm.
The number one utility is not sports. Like they
No,
make the
I
Mustang,
disagree.
they make the Mustang and the Camaro so you can live with, but they're fast. They're not. Their sole purpose is not to go fast.
Well,
Listen,
somebody tell
they,
T
they,
Pain that.
they transitioned the Mustang from a solid rear axle to an independent rear suspension for a reason. It is a sports car, man. It is no argument. Listen, I've done extensive research on both of these cars. I owned a Mustang before, and let me tell you, it is definitely a sports car. The model that I owned was more of a pony car because it still had the solid axle. But the
Listen,
new ones
if
that's out
they,
right
it,
now,
hey,
they're
hey, if they just completely got rid of the trunk space in a Mustang, they wouldn't sell them.
listen. The Corvette
Because
has two trunks. It has a trunk and a front. The C8, a trunk and a front.
nobody, but listen, my point is nobody would miss them in a
I,
Corvette. Nobody
I
would.
I disagree because you got to look at the demographic that purchases Corvettes. These are 50-plus-year
No,
old men.
I
A lot of
understand
whom,
the
a lot
marketing
of whom who
towards the
don't
people
track them.
out here.
A lot of whom who do not track. Most people that own Corvettes buy the. I looked at this statistics. Most people that buy Corvettes buy the base model, not with the Z51 package. They buy the base model, no options, and they don't track them. That's most Corvette owners. Period.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is they wouldn't miss the trunk if they just got rid of it. The
I don't.
Mustang,
This is what I'm telling you. Look at the demographic that buys the Corvette. If there was no trunk on the Corvette, yes, they would miss it. They actually use the trunks. A lot of these people, there's a lot of women that drive Corvettes, and they use the Corvette as their daily driver. They go to the grocery store in Corvettes. I mean,
yeah, but
you have to actually do the research.
but when they buy the Corvette, they're not expecting. They don't care about that.
I disagree, man. I
Well,
disagree.
let me throw this at you guys. Nissan back in the day called the Maxima a four-door sports coupe.
And that was for marketing. That was the same way they say the Mustang and the Camaro is a sports car. That's the same thing.
Nah, that's different. No, the Maxima was pure blasphemy. We all can agree that the Maxima that was pure blasphemy. Do
Hey,
not
you know
compare
what?
that to
Hey! Back in the day, man, the dope boys had the Maximas with the bowling ball paint jobs on them. That shit was hard back then.
Oh man, here you go, man.
Hey, you know,
You tiptoeing around the Momo now, man.
nah, man. I had to. The shit I was saying growing up, man.
Listen,
Oh
I
man.
like the Maxima. I mean, I'm not debating that the Maxima wasn't a nice car. You know, it was a nice car, but to call it a four-door sports car, a front engine, front wheel drive, it's transverse mounted, front engine, front wheel drive car, a sports car? No.
4-cylinder, naturally aspirated. No, I get what you're saying, but over the
Hey,
years,
fellas, this is a great conversation. I'm getting ready to jump in the gym here for a minute, man. But
All right, man.
sports cars were originally two-door cars that were really meant to be kind of on the track, and that's kind of what Corvette was all about. And that's what the Viper was all about when they launched
the
that.
Cover,
Okay, that too, and all that other stuff. But then all of a sudden, Chrysler came out there. They started Dodge. They were out there with the Cuda and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that changed it around. So Mike's right. There's a lot of cross pollination of all this, and it's all about selling these shits, man. It's all about selling. So I don't think we can go back to what the classic sport car really was, because there are too many iterations and too many different cars that are out here that have muddied it. But originally, it's a two-door, two-seat car designed to run on the track. Pretty much, that was your sport car. That was sport running, and that has all changed. There's a lot of change. NASCAR and all that didn't come from the sport car background. NASCAR's background was rum running. and moonshining, and there was a whole different game behind that. So there was so many different things that started a lot of these different racing iterations. But originally, sport car was a two-door, two-seater, and that's changed.
Yeah, I want to address this point in the chat real quick. What's his
Gents,
brother's
I'm
name?
going to break out. I'm hit the gym, man. I'll see you guys in a little bit, all right?
Hey, have a good one, bro.
Later, Nicole.
All right.
Yeah, brother Truth Be Told said, let me find this comment because I just lost it. Why are we talking about cars? Shouldn't black people be trying to save their money and buy property or an appreciating asset? Well, we would argue.
Whoa. Let me because I own several. I own several cars that have done nothing but appreciate in value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, I would say this isn't the economics chat, so if you're here for that, wait till that day. But this is all about cars right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well. Also, let me just say this, right? There is a greater deal amount of building that we have to do as a community, but what are we building for? At some point, there should be an enjoyment of the fruits of your labor. If you've actually, put forth the effort and got yourself to a certain level where you can kind of indulge a little bit. I mean, because you have to have transportation anyway. So why not be in something that you can enjoy? Because you spend a lot of time behind the wheel, right? And especially depending on if you have to commute to work, at least make your commute a little bit enjoyable. I mean, come on, like we don't. Everybody has a little bit of conspicuous consumption, even the most frugal person. I bet you Warren Buffett got a guilty pleasure somehow.
Well, you know what? Hey, you know what? Let me tell you the story real quick. While we on the topic of exotics and what black people should be doing with their money or whatever, right? So I remember being 9 years old, bro, in the middle of the hood where there is absolutely nothing going on but just garbage. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'll never forget. It's a baseball player from my hometown, and his name is Thomas Gordon. During the summer, the kids be out playing and whatnot. I'll never, ever, ever forget the day that he came out, because he funded the whole thing. For every summer, he put this thing on. And he had a Lamborghini Diablo SV, and I'll never forget that. I knew that you had to be an exceptional person, and you could not have things like that by not pushing yourself or trying to accomplish something.
And if I could jump in real quick, and
so it's like cars. Like I said in another hangout we did, like my hobby saved me from all kind of like this. It's just cars to some people.
And if I could jump in real quick on this point, like people like Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno are not of that mindset. And these are some of the richest entertainers in the world. Jay Leno has like a YouTube channel devoted to sharing his entire car collection with people. And a lot of people probably aspire to get to the point where they're at solely because they want to have an amazing garage that they can get in Gran Turismo, and they just translate that to real life.
Come on, man. We talking Bill Cosby. We talking, oh my God, come on, man. Some of these guys got car collections they don't even show people.
Yeah, even Prince had a pretty massive car collection. It was a lot of random cars, but he had a lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just the guy thing, man. That's just the masculinity of men, gravitates towards.
Some women too, like someone mentioned women having Corvettes. My grandmother has a C7. Before that, she had
but they're not collecting. They're not collecting these. They're not collecting, these cars because they care about the appreciation all the time. I'm saying for guys like Jay Leno and Seinfeld and Paul Walker, those guys are really dedicated to the culture.
Like you can see why they became famous once you hear them talk about cars for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I mean, come on, man. Look at the technologies that we get to like indulge in.
mhm.
Like, come on, man. I don't want to hear that shit, man.
I know Super
And
Chris
then
has something to say about that.
like
I
back
hate
in
it, man.
'95 when the McLaren F1 came out, no one expected it to be considered one of the best cars ever made in the world and to be worth as much in 2019
Hmm.
as opposed to '95.
Hmm.
The engine bay has pure gold reflection in there.
Pure gold. Pure gold.
Pure gold has a heat reflecting element. Like, come on, man. Don't.
Be easy, guys. Be easy, man. I think he's just
Yeah, but still, man,
he's
it's just
trolling
like it's
us,
like
man.
it's like we just not like. Come on, man.
I go to Cars and Coffee too, so I know how you feel, man. I see
Oh,
it.
please. Man,
See the white boys out there.
I used to sell insurance, and the woman that ran the agency, she had a Lamborghini Huracan, she had a Ferrari FF, a Mercedes G wagon. Her husband had about 10 specific Porsche 911s, not just like turbos and stuff. He had a couple GT3s. It's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah, people who appreciate cars, man, will have their collection or have their one
And
off, man.
and these are people that were on the like financial money tip too because they sold insurance.
Because those cars appreciate in value, and that's some of the stuff that we were trying to talk about maybe a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. That a lot of your exotic cars and supercars, man, they're appreciating in value. They're not going down. F40 at one point, get one
What
of
I'm saying is not even the exotic cars. Like I'm talking, you, you can have a Celica GT4 all-wheel drive. That thing is going to skyrocket. It's going up right now. All Datsuns are skyrocketing right now. Like this is stuff that anybody can pretty much get their hands on right now and hold.
those. Mhm.
Like this,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, cars are the new Bitcoin, man.
And classic rear wheel drive manual cars too are going to go up in value, I predict. Like an
Yes,
E92 M3.
yes.
Yeah, a clean Datsun 240Z is it's something, man. Or not a 240Z. What is it? 180Z? I think they had.
No, I
No, the
think
two.
it's 240Z.
Look, check.
No, but yeah, you're right. You're right in your point that they appreciate and they become you know assets, man, that are worthy of being owned. You would be a fool. I mean, I mean, we talked
Yo,
about the E30. We talked about the E30 M3.
yo,
E30
check this
M3.
out. This guy had this like I was just driving around one of my friends' neighborhoods, and this guy had this out in his driveway. Those wheels are worth at least $3 to $4 grand.
Mm,
I trailered that car home the other day for $1,200,
wow.
and those headlight covers, and that it's got a flare kit from IMSA Racing. It's got a full suspension underneath it and tons of extra parts. I already made my money back off the door panels and stuff that was on the inside.
You have to turn it into the double Z.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this is it's actually a business for me. If you want to talk about it, I run Japanese.
Yeah. And then one of my friends that I used to know back in the day, he used to trade cars like from SRT4 ACRs, and then one day I caught him on the road in Viper ACR 2016 out of nowhere, just trading his way up.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like I don't know, man. Don't get me started, man. Like I take it personal because my relationship with cars is more than like just I want to have something. Like it's more than that. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think people just misunderstand. I think he might have just been trolling us, but people don't understand cars, man. They miss that major point of the connection that a person has with it.
A lot of people.
It's not like Ty City bought a Chevy Sonic and then put dubs on it or something like that. That's not
I think
Yeah.
where the spark
Well,
came.
well, speaking on Chevy Sonic, right? If unless that person that made that comment owns a Chevy Sonic, then he's probably living in excess himself. right? Like if you really want to, if you really want to live, you know, a simple life and not overindulge, you'd be driving a Chevy Sonic or some type of motor scooter.
You'd be riding the bus.
Yeah, right. Maybe riding a bus. You'd be living in like a very, very small, you know, house, you know, and actually, you know, a house is not even the best investment if you really think about it.
Right.
Because it's not a revenue generating, unless you have a revenue generating home or you have a multi family property. A house is not even the best investment. I mean, you really think about it.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, yeah, you can't live in your car, but if you sit around for a few years, you're gonna watch the depreciation go right through the roof on that thing on some of these cars. So I mean, just like Ty City just said, you know, that Z that was sitting in the driveway already made his money back just from the door cards itself. So
I think everyone in the panel and on the chat should look up a guy named Richard Fain on YouTube. Fain. He's an older black dude. He has a 458 Porsche 911 GT3.
Yeah, I watched him before.
Yeah, I think everyone should check him out, especially the brother Truth Be Told or whoever he is. Yeah, I follow him, and he gives a lot of good advice for people like us to get rich so we can indulge in our passions.
Oh, speaking of Richard Fain, you know, Richard Fain makes money not only off of real estate, but he actually invests in high-end watches.
Right.
Now,
right.
it's something that most people would consider as
frivolous. Don't even get me started on watches.
Yeah, but see, most people consider that as frivolous, conspicuous consumption. But this is just people. A lot of people are talk on things, and they're not really educated on some of the aspects of, say, for instance, high-end automobiles, high-end watches, you know, boats and things like that that can actually appreciate the value.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, let's get back to the topic, man. So I think Ty City and Super Trish kind of left off on the definition of a sports car, but they're blurring the lines in terms of what is sports car. Now they're talking about sports hatches. I think Mitsubishi came out with an Evolution Lancer Evolution sports hatch or something like that. It's all types of sports this, sports that, sports bras. This is getting out of control, man.
Well, like the Lancer Evolution has roots in rally. Mm-hmm. So I can see an argument for saying that. Well, see, I think that a lot of the sports cars you'll find are willing to compromise certain things like ergonomics, fuel economy, practicality, things like that in favor of performance. And I think we have to define define what that actual threshold. At what point do you cross compromise into actually being more performance oriented? And at what point does that lean you more towards being a sports car as opposed to just being a sporty coupe or sporty sedan? And can a sedan be a sports car? That's another question.
Well, that's what I was saying about Nissan and the Maxima, right?
Well, I mean, that's a front engine. I'm talking about, like, say for instance, maybe even I guess this is a stretch, but I guess I'm trying to kind of get you to conceptualize maybe like even the Pontiac G8, the last iteration of Pontiac G8, which was
the Chevy Caprice, yeah.
It was a no, but listen, hold on, let me explain. It was a longitudinally mounted V8 rear-wheel drive, right? Independent suspension, right? And then the actual numbers reflect more of a sports car than not. So I mean that's a valid argument. And just I'm talking about just the configuration alone.
Let me jump in on this real quick. To me, the definition of a sports car is 2 doors, rear-wheel drive. The difference between a sports car and a supercar is whether the engine is in front of you or behind you. The suspension is stiff, and the steering and suspension is such that it's specifically for handling corners at a high speed. Usually they start with the whole design of that with the tires.
But you can't say that either anymore, because a lot of these cars, the steering wheel not even connected to the steering components.
No, with a Porsche 911, you call that a sports car, even though it has electric steering by now. My Scion FRS, I'm pretty sure it has electric steering, but that's a sports car.
But I don't think you could classify a sports car by the steering setup.
No,
I'm
I'm
about-
talking about the way the steering feels and
I'm about-
whether the car is designed to handle at a high rate of speed around a corner.
Okay, I can dig that.
I'm about to debunk you right now. Okay, because you said front engine rear wheel drive or even mid engine rear wheel drive, but we're looking at the inception of kinetic energy recovery systems and brushless motors to the front wheels, like
like a Tesla Model S.
GTR. The GTR is 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, we're changing a lot of things, and then like I at one point considered a sports car as a manual transmission.
Right.
A lot of these cars are automatics now.
Yeah, we have to that reality, unfortunately.
So I guess another subcategory would be a purist sports car, because we can say that argument too.
Well, does a purist sports car have fuel injectors or carburetors?
See, that's a good question.
Yeah, I can't.
Go ahead, Tyson.
I can't. I just feel like there are, to me, how I've known it, where there were pony cars that were marketed as sports cars, and like it gets blurry right there. It gets blurry because I know it's carbureted cars that have like beautiful Weber setups on them, and they sports cars all day long.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, some cars, I mean, they got cars like the Chevy SS, which it's got an LS motor and a 6-speed manual transmission, and it's a 4-door, but it's not a sports car.
Mm-hmm.
They have fast sedans, but that don't make it a sports car.
Let me ask you this: can a car be transgender? Let me
Oh
explain.
my God! Here it is.
Let me explain. Right? Because you could take an actual, say for instance, you take a car that's not a sports car, right? Maybe it's just rear wheel drive, but then you replace the body panels with a monocoque shell. You change out the suspension components. Maybe you do some modifications to the engine. You take out the back seats. Now the actual specification screams sports car. And matter of fact, it could be even now you got it. Maybe you could take it to the point where it's no longer street legal. You can only ride on the track.
Oh, now you're talking about those like old Mustangs and Camaros that people resto mod for track racing.
That's a kid car.
Not always, because you have Mustangs and Camaros, for example, like older Mustangs and Camaros where people trade out the stock suspension for double wishbone suspensions, multi-link rear suspensions to replace the leaf springs out back and things like that. But I think with those, they still keep the solid rear axle, but they change up the geometry so that they can handle better for the track.
Okay, if I put air ride on a Corvette, is it a luxury sedan?
That's a good question. That's what I'm saying. Can we listen? We got it in this day.
No, it's not. No, we can't do that.
It's the torsional stiffness of the chassis too. Taking away the suspension, but I'm talking about the frame.
I'm seeing guys take the cars down to the tub and make a tubular body, and they call those exos. Y'all seen those?
Yeah.
Oh, exo sets.
Yeah,
I seen an exo Lamborghini on the internet.
Yeah, but
skeleton.
I mean, listen. A Mustang is not a sports car. A Camaro is not a sports car.
Ty, what about the GT350 though?
See?
It's not. This what I'm saying. These cars, if I take the motor and put it in my station wagon, I have a station wagon that is fast.
Okay, so what about a Lexus LFA? Because it has a fast engine, but it's still rear-wheel drive.
The LFA is a sports car.
I would argue it's a supercar.
Yeah, it's a supercar.
I don't think it's supercar.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't think it's supercar. The engine is, but the car is just it's a sports car.
Okay, it costed $300 and some thousand when it came out.
Sports has nothing to do with the cost.
I think it does.
Yeah, it does. It was cost
Maybachs cost a lot.
Yeah, but cost comes in.
Engineering and design and research determines whether something is a supercar or not.
That's what I was gonna get to. Because
well, if you want to get to the brass tacks, the LFA is not even proven.
What do you mean it's not proven?
That car was marketed and sold. It has no racing pedigree.
You know they ran it on the Nürburgring. You know they did. It has a time. I don't know what it is.
Listen. They never competed with that car.
No, they competed with the engine, just not with the car.
Well, the 458 doesn't have a racing pedigree either. The company that made it does, but the 458 itself doesn't have a racing pedigree. Well, actually, I think it does.
No, I think they club racing.
Classes that racing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's different classes that race. So never mind. I retract that statement.
And you know what? I'm a big fan of the LFA. I love that car.
Yeah, me too.
I think that they should have raced that car. I think they should have. It's a legendary car without actual legends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the LFA is it was just a thought exercise.
It was a thought exercise, but what I'm saying is, and I think that the LFA got a lot to do with what happened with the Supra.
Oh yeah.
Because from my understanding, from my research, they actually lost money with the LFA.
Yeah, they lost a lot of money off of it because they didn't mass produce it. It was hard to produce to begin with.
Well, yeah, you can't mass produce the engineering that Yamaha did in that engine. You can't mass produce that.
No, they would have to have sold at the very bare minimum at least 1,000 in order for them to recoup the money off of it that they invested into it. They would have to have sold at least 1,000.
They still have brand new ones sitting on in different lots right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you don't drive any of these cars, man, although the value goes up, the maintenance actually goes up with it too, because it has to be driven, and if it hasn't turned any miles on it,
that's what I'm saying. The value went up faster than what they could sell them for retail.
That's due to the sound alone.
No, the sound nasty. That's a nasty car. That's a nasty car. That should have been marketed as the Supra. That should have been the Supra.
Man, that's way too expensive to be a Supra. You know, and speaking
no
of
matter. That's just where we at right now. That should have been the Supra.
Okay.
I think he means the overall design should have been the Supra. That should have been.
No, that car.
Nah, that's way too much for a doggone Supra. Come on.
No way. Let me tell you. Okay.
Look at the GTR. Look at the GTR when it was live. They was able to compete with the 911.
As much as I love the LFA, a GTR will outperform it.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah, because because it's a lot more advanced. But if you're thinking about, I mean, there's cars that would outperform a Gallardo or anything like that. I don't think that's fair to make that comparison.
First of all, what's a 93 Supra costing you right now?
At least 20 or 30.
At least, on the low end, NA, not even a twin turbo, maybe an automatic.
I'm talking about like a twin turbo manual 93 starts at like 30 and go up to 80 for low mileage.
Exactly. So a new Supra should be around 100.
No,
a new Supra shouldn't be a BMW Z4.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
I don't know, man. They dropped the ball, and the fact that they did that was like it was kind of gut wrenching, bro. I can't believe they did it.
You know why they dropped the ball? Because they turned it into a business move instead of an actual sports car.
Yeah, but they tried to sell it. They tried to sell it like it was a bunch of it was a passion project.
No, it was the business decision that they made was a passion. That's because they were talking about they couldn't come up with new tooling to make a new engine and all this stuff. It was
It
a
would have cost
business
them a lot of
move.
money. Yeah, it would have cost. I mean, there's no heritage behind it other than the name. There's no real heritage behind it, and you can't really knock them at this point, man. Everybody needs to get to the market as soon as possible. Nobody wants to end up like Honda with the NSX, right? For 20 years.
No, but the NSX was just a bad idea.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, the NSX was a bad idea.
No, it was bad. It was bad execution. It's bad.
Yeah.
How was it a bad idea, Ty?
Well, think about how advanced the original NSX was, right? Because
when the original NSX came out, the R32 GTR was more advanced than it.
Well, we talking the first all aluminum chassis.
Yeah, that was about all it had was the aluminum chassis and DOHC VTEC.
And for that time, just even the body style and stuff, the new one is not that groundbreaking at all. It's not.
I would argue that it is. It's just not as fast as we want it to be. That's the only problem.
Well, the car itself, right? It's a hybrid technology, and when you talk about a V6 based hybrid technology, like I could see if that car was putting out maybe 700 horsepower, then it may be an argument for it. But if you're putting out under 600 horsepower and you got to deal with a V6, it's like, why don't I just get something else for that price? Like you're paying, like the price for that Honda NSX. I mean, yeah, there's tech and stuff involved, but they would have been better served with just having a naturally aspirated engine, bringing down the price. You see what I'm saying?
I would argue.
Changing the aesthetics so it's more appealing to the consumer. Like they just poorly executed that NSX.
I would argue that if you wanted the new NSX to have a naturally aspirated engine to be competitive, it would be more expensive because they would have to redline at 9,000 RPMs at least.
Yeah, everybody else is already turboed out, so it would be impossible for you to actually.
It would have to be a racing engine to compete with everything else.
I think I misstated what I meant. I don't mean I mean like a non-hybrid, like maybe just have like a turbocharged engine, something simple. You know what I mean? And that wouldn't have been very expensive to develop. It really wouldn't have been very expensive to develop.
Actually, it was expensive for them to develop, and that they originally had a turbo engine, and it was actually overheating, and that's when they retooled it. So they went back to the drawing board and did it all over again. Then they came out with what we have today. So they had
Honda Acura got so much racing like technology and know-how. Like it's I don't know, man. The NSX is another one.
Okay, let me ask everybody this, right? So we know the official pricing for the C8 just came out early this morning, or late last night actually, right?
Yep.
So this is my question, right? And this is why I say the execution was so poor. We have a C8 495 horsepower, naturally aspirated, mid-engine setup, under $60,000 MSRP. If they can do under $60,000, why does the NSX what?
But listen.
Let him finish.
Let me say this.
Let him finish his point.
Okay, okay.
So my question is that like this is what I'm saying. The Honda should have executed that NSX better. Like the cooling, all that stuff. They with the team of engineers they have at Honda, and then the actual market share, because but Honda moves volumes, so they have money to invest in research and development for supercars.
No, I'm gonna tell you exactly why.
Let Ty go first, and I'll go after you.
Okay, so Honda and Acura, their manufacturing process is way more complicated than GM, right? So even though you have this C8, they still using older technology, small block Chevy stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they pretty much built a car with this the Gate-Track transmission probably is a off-the-shelf unit that they modified to work with the engine, and Honda Acura will be way far different. They have way different. It's just different quality.
Okay,
They
I'll
do
say this.
they do have to watch their manufacturing. I'll give you that. Honda to when they produce something, like it'll be like the B series for a long time. Then they'll go to the K series which is still in production. They don't they actually innovate. They're more innovative.
I'll say this real quick. So about the C8 Corvette, the most advanced things about it is the fact that they put the engine behind you now, and it has a dual clutch transmission. It still uses an overhead valve push rod engine. So that alone is way cheaper to create and get power out of than a DOHC twin turbo V6 with a hybrid system. So that in and of itself makes the Corvette that much cheaper than the NSX. It's not as technologically advanced. If anything, you have the dash units and the electronics and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you just have a pushrod engine behind you. The most advanced thing on it is a dual clutch transmission behind you, and that's about it. And maybe
that is right. And if you turbocharge it, it's in a cramped space, and you have to engineer the body to actually efficiently remove heat from the back from turbocharging.
Yeah, unless they flip it upside down like Porsche does with their flat six, and then they can actually do something like that. But that's years and years and years of engineering that they didn't have a whole lot of time to actually play with.
Yeah, 50 years, 60 years worth.
Yeah, they've been It's pretty much Porsche's pretty much the same configuration. They already mastered that already.
The elongated Beetle is just like 60-year reiteration of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really understand the amount of engineering that went into the NSX, though. The NSX, was a failure.
They got too cool for school.
Well, keep in mind that the original meant new sports car experience, and the new one means new supercar experience. So they're going after, everyone who's driven it, right? I've driven it myself.
The NSX?
Yeah, I did that last year. So every car review that I have seen, everybody likes it. Whether it's Jay Leno or it's Chris Harris, Shmi 150, or everyone who has driven it, they all walk away and say that car is dope. Matt Farah has like 2 or 3 videos just this year alone driving the NSX, the new one. He said this is probably one of the dopest cars on the road. So what I'm saying here is that the car is done right, but it's launched at the wrong time, and I think that's what Supertriz is saying, that it's 5 years too late. Because if you look at the price tag, 160. Okay, what can you get for 160? You can get a McLaren now. When the original NSX
a Nismo GTR.
Well, that's not in the same category.
But what I'm saying is, performance-wise, the GTR really threw a wrench in like the Japanese performance cars, and that's why the expectations for the Supra was so high, because it should be a big 3 coming out of Japan.
That's a good point.
Well, let me just finish my point. You have the McLaren now that wasn't there before, right? The last NSX, they didn't have a McLaren. The only thing that Acura was going after was the Ferrari. What was it? The 325 or the
308 maybe?
Yeah, the 308. Right now, this time around, you got the Huracan, you got the McLaren, you got the the Mercedes GTR. You have
AMG.
You have the Audi R8. You have now a very high competitive Lotus Evora GT series. So there's so many variations of competition for that demographic. They really don't need to look at the Acura NSX, despite how good it is. They can get they can get better performance for the same price without actually compromising.
And the first NSX was so special, like Arisina was like directly involved with the whole project.
Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, he was like directly involved with the project.
Yeah.
And I feel like the pedigree from the NSX was just so strong. Like they should have knocked that out of the park.
And then at that time, Honda was like really killing it in F1 too.
Well, what about the old Subaru SVX, whatever that? What would you
That-
consider that a sports car?
No,
Well,
that's a touring model.
Yeah, the SVX had back seats, didn't it? Didn't it have back
Yeah.
seats?
Yeah, that would actually be that would, and you know what? That car would have been a legend in its own right if it came with a manual transmission. I love that car.
I think, didn't it?
No, it didn't. No, it came with and that Boxer 6. It had a Boxer 6 in it.
Yeah. A 3-liter.
It had a 4-cylinder and it had a 2-cylinder and it had an all-wheel drive and a front-wheel drive.
I think once you become front-wheel drive, you're not in the sports car category. You're more in the like sport compact or sport hatch.
So, see now, you laid out earlier some very, very specific criteria to be considered a sports car. I'm still waiting on Ty City. Ty City, I got beef with you. I need you to lay out some specific characteristics for a sports car, not no feelings and emotions. I need some actual characteristics because the problem is that
I'm telling you, like it's primary is when you get in it. It is strictly performance. It's not for you to live with.
See, here we go. Here we go.
What does that, Ty? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
Huh?
Define it. Like what drivetrain would be strictly performance?
Yeah, strictly performance. Like it's
give us some metrics though for that.
Like I said,
you hear that, Mike?
If you took
Mike, he tap dancing. He tap dancing.
Nah, if you take the trunk space off of the car and
I think he fell off.
Hello?
See, Ty, you ducking the fade now. You see what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not ducking the fade. I'm telling you. If they say, yo, the new Mustang won't have a trunk, everybody will be crying because it's not a sports car.
Okay, so give us a concrete example.
Come on, man.
Give us a concrete example. Give us a make and model of what you think is a sports car.
A very clear definition of a sports car would be a Corvette. A very definition of a sports car would be hell, a Miata is more of a sports car.
A what?
A Miata is more of a sports car.
Miata is a sports car. I consider that a sports car too, even though it's slow as shit.
Okay, so but Ty,
if you notice, those follow like the specific metrics that I laid out earlier. Those two cars.
Yeah, 2 seats and 2 doors.
Okay, so that's okay. So now you're saying a sports car constitutes something that's 2 seats and 2 doors, right? Is that what you're saying?
I did.
Okay.
I just said door count.
It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the performance of the car.
Okay. So we got 2 seats and 2 doors. So can we consider a Mercedes SL to be a sports car?
Yes. A roadster sports car, yes.
Okay, so can we consider a Cadillac XLR to be a sports car?
That's their attempt. That's their attempt.
That would be more along the lines of a touring sports car, but yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider a Mercedes SL a sports car.
See. Okay, so now we get somewhere. See, so it's actually more to it than just the door count, and the engine.
Has to be a quick chassis. It comes down. They start off with the tires. They think about what kind of tire do we want to put on this car, and then from there they determine the pickup points for the suspension.
Oh, well, hold on. The new C8, the base model, comes with all season tires.
Well, they chose to do that. They chose to do that. They chose to do that, and I don't know why, but they chose an actual race car.
You know why? Because the all-season tires are going to last considerably longer than some sport compound that's going to have to change in like 8,000 miles.
That's for the people who just want to drive the car. They want to have a Corvette. They want to have the new Corvette. Like, it's a sports car with the wrong tires on it. But I think they still took a specific type of tire in mind, and then at the end of the design process, they said, okay, we could fit some all seasons on here for so it can have more of a mass appeal. I think that's they definitely did not design that chassis around an all season tire. Because why in the heck do you design a engine chassis around an all season tire? Why would you do that?
Wait. What are we talking about? I'm sorry. I missed out something.
Corvettes and anomalies.
No, well, you have to keep in mind that the Corvette is meant to be driven all year round. So if you're in the Northeast, like Super Triz is, or myself,
right?
And what happens here is those tires have to be able to hold up to when the temperature drops below 45 degrees. So even if there's no snow outside, they still need to hold up. Anybody who's driven with sport compounds, man, those tires suck, man. Once it gets below 45 degrees, they're like plastic, man. Really.
I agree with you. All I'm saying is the Corvette chassis was designed around like a higher performance tire, and then at the end of the design process, they decided to put an all season on it.
It can handle it.
Right.
I got a wild card for you. I just now thought of something. Okay. Renault Clio V6. Is it a sports car?
That's a sports car.
Okay,
but it's a hatchback.
Yeah, I'm calling that a sport compact.
It's rear engine, there's mid engine, rear wheel drive.
But it's a hatchback.
Has 2 doors.
It's a hatchback.
It has 2 doors though.
It's a 3-door.
And technically the Supra's hatchback lift. And if you get like a C5 Corvette non-Z06, those are hatchbacks.
Okay, so Ty City.
Those are liftback.
Right. Huh?
Ty City. The Renault Clio Sport V6.
To me, it's a sport compact.
So it's not a sports car.
No.
See? I got you, Ty.
Is that just because I have a shorter wheelbase?
No, I don't. It's nothing to do with it's not a sports car.
I got you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I think it's a sport compact.
Those things are so nasty.
Hey, okay, so check this out. The Volkswagen R32.
That's all-wheel drive.
Okay,
is that a sports car?
Wait a minute. But
they classify it.
It's a sport compact, just like the Clio.
Okay,
yeah, they classify it as
there's striking differences between those two cars, though.
Volkswagen classifies it as a sports car. I call it what you want. I don't understand it myself, which is why I started this hangout, which is why I brought the topic up. It's kind of confusing with how they classifying these cars, man. I'm a big fan of the R32.
I know they got to market it to whoever, but that is a sport compact car.
It should be considered that. It should be considered that.
What is Allstate classified as?
It's just
and Progressive and Geico.
Yeah, it's gonna be classified as performance.
Yeah, they're gonna classify it as whatever makes them the most money off of it.
Let me see.
They're gonna classify it as dangerous.
Yeah, let me see what my registration says for my car. It is considered to be give me 1 second.
So y'all would consider the Escort Cosworth sports car also?
Yes.
See, Ty, man, you Mayweather up in here. You avoiding that fade, man.
I'm not avoiding the fade. I think this is a problem with the industry. To be honest, it's just they could just market it to whoever.
How? Okay, listen, Ty. Why is the Cosworth Escort not a sports car?
Because it's a sport compact.
What isn't a compact a car?
Yeah, it's a smaller car.
Okay, so
It's based on an economy car. Yes.
okay,
Dude, but it's
okay,
still.
how about this? How about this? The Mazda Miata RF, is that a sport compact?
The Mazda is
Small car.
the
The
Mazda
RF
is a
the
sports
RF
car in nature. Yes, it's not.
the RF.
See, so that's a good point because they have about the same wheelbase, but the Escort Cosworth is still rear-wheel drive. It has a big laggy turbo on it, but I consider it a sports car. Both front-engine rear-wheel drive, longitudinal. One is vastly slower than the other one, but somehow that's a sports car.
But see this is my whole point. My whole point is that, you know, if there are certain characteristics, right? If you say if it's a front engine rear wheel drive 2-door, right? And you know it's longitudinally mounted, right? And it, you know, and whatever other characteristics that you define that make it a sports car. My argument is that you can take a car that doesn't have those characteristics and modify it to have those characteristics. Is it now a transvestite sports car?
Oh,
Yeah, like with the Renault Clio.
brother's been in Seattle for too long, man. Let me we get into the bottom of the hour, man, and I want to make sure we close at 11. But so the other question was fast performance car, high performance cars for under 40 grand. What would be your choice?
New or
Camaro.
Use.
No, you can't. That's too broad. That's too broad because
Really?
Yeah, because you can have a car that could be $50,000 used, but then it could be $30,000 depending on the condition, but still run. So I think you should just limit it to new.
Let's go on market value for one in decent condition.
Well, when I was getting at was my initial throw out was the E92 M3.
Yep,
V8.
that's exactly what I'm gonna say.
For how much? 40?
Yeah.
Okay.
My buddy got it.
Okay, but
Not 6 turbo.
Okay.
No, but according to Thai City, because the actual the E90 M3 has a legitimate back seat, it's not a sports car.
That was E92.
Or E92. Actually, it's a sports compact.
Okay.
Thai City, tell me I'm lying, Thai City.
Hey, that's what you classify as sports car, man. Hey, it's a sports car to you.
See, this is what I just told. See,
because the 840 and the 850 in that era is a sports car to me.
Okay.
The 840 is a Grand Tour.
Well, yeah, I'll give you that.
Grand Tour.
You see,
the 840 is in the same category as the Lexus SC 400.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Grand Tour, not a sports car.
Correct.
Thai City. Come on, man. You got to listen. You all over the place.
Hey, if you think an E36 is a sports car, man, do you, man? Hey.
What do you? Wait.
No, hold on. Wait a minute.
I hate the E36. I do not like that car.
Okay.
You a hater.
Go to Europe and get an E36. Go to Europe and get an E36 M3 Euro spec with 280 to 300 horsepower, 6 individual throttles.
I understand the engine. I do not like the car.
This is the same guy who just bought a Nissan for $1,200, a sports car.
Yes, sir. All day long.
Oh, well,
all day long.
A sports car. It's a sports car for him, but for everybody else, oh no. I think that might be like a sports hermaphrodite or something like that. It's always something.
No, the 240Z is a sports car.
Yeah, of course.
Mike, you got to go with your list. So what's your list for under? Was it under 40 or under 50?
Under 40.
Okay, what's your list?
Audi S4 B8. Used, right? We're talking used. Miles on it, still under warranty. E92 M3, Jaguar F-Type R, V8 hardtop. All three of these cars can be bought for under 40K.
Okay, okay, I got you. We got the Maserati Cambia Corsa. You can get that for under 25.
Oh yeah.
But does it drive though? Does it drive?
Under 20, you can get. Well, I mean, you may be able to drive it for maybe about a month before I have to take it to get serviced again, but it'll drive.
And you won't see it for a long time.
I'm gonna shut it down with this one. Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer. C6 Corvette, Z06.
Yeah, that's really at the top of No, you're right. You're right. It is in that 40 under 40. It isn't under 40.
Yeah.
The C7.
C6.
A C7 Stingray. A C7 Stingray is right at the 40 mark. That's like the
I got one too.
You can get a C6.
The,
go ahead.
The R32 Skyline.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
I don't know if you can get that under 40 because you got to import that.
All day long you can.
No, the R32s are legal now, so they're on the used car market without having to deal with importation laws, taxes.
26 to 30, easy.
Really?
Actually, the R33 GTRs can be had for around 36.
I'm still waiting on the R34.
Really? Wow, man, that's
now. Ty City, do you? Go ahead, Super Trish.
Now, I think that R32 is. I would love to get my hands on the R32.
And it's a good time too. They're gonna skyrocket. Once the importation dry up.
Well, Ty City, do you have like an Excel spreadsheet of all these imports and whatnot, of what the going rates are and stuff like that?
No, I pretty much got a good. I pretty much got a good gauge.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Some of the stuff you can get imported is actually cheaper than what you can buy the US version for now. Like the third gen RX-7s are just, you better off importing one now. It's a weird space right now. What was I about to say?
What about Ellis? What's your
my list?
Yeah, your list.
Yeah, a lot of the other people already mentioned things like the E92 M3. Someone mentioned the Corvette. I would throw in the Nissan 370Z. That could be a good cheap sports car, but they haven't changed it in over a decade.
Have you driven one of those things?
No.
Oh my God, man. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, you can get it for under 40, but I don't know if I would actually.
Hey, no one said this. I'm gonna throw in the S2000.
You can still get those?
Oh man, you can get them for 40.
S2000, definitely. And the FRS, Scion FRS is slow. It'll get there eventually, but you'll outhandle 95% of what's on the road.
You like the FRS? Oh man, we gotta have another hangout, man.
Yeah, the next hangout is gonna be.
I have an FRS.
You got the Subaru version or
the Scion? I have the Scion.
Scion.
Okay.
Yep. So
so we got the next hangout. Go ahead and finish.
I was gonna say it's slow, but I love it. I want to do some a lot of custom work to it, design some parts for it. So I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah, the next hangout we're gonna do, man, is gonna be based on two wheels and that FRS.
Yes.
We're gonna talk about sport bikes and what's hot. Ducatis and
that's gonna be nice.
S1000s. We'll let Super Tritz lead this off, man, because he's gonna have to give out the smoke to everybody.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, listen. You don't want my motorcycle smoke. I'm gonna just say one bike right off the top. Well, I'm gonna just say the manufacturer, Kawasaki.
ZX14.
No, that H2R.
Nah. Yeah, they're killing it right now. Like a used one is still $25,000 with miles on it.
H2R.
Yeah, is the supercharged,
Yeah, they
the
hold their
supercharged
values.
one.
Whoa.
Yes, they hold their values, man. I'm telling you.
You know, checking for you in the chat, man. You know, he's going ham. You know, against some of the discussion that we're having. No,
Oh, you want smoke?
yeah, I think he wants some smoke with us. He won't get on the panel though. Checking for you.
What is he saying? Because I can't see the chat. What's he saying?
Let me read. Checking for you. The reason why there's no Bitcoin cryptocurrency hangout tonight is because Lionel is not available. He's away right now. So that's why that's why we're having this hangout right now.
That's why we're getting these people like talking bad about cars. Because they're expecting something else.
Well, not that they're expecting something else so much, but they a lot of people don't really understand what we're talking about actually has appreciating value. So you have to get them to understand that, you know, if you buy the E30 right now, or if you bought it 10 years ago, you're gonna make out at least $100,000 easy.
Bro, do you know what a 996 is gonna do in the next 10 years? A turbo in good shape with the proper 6-speed.
A GT3 is actually very much attainable right now. In a couple years from now, man, it's not going to be attainable because those cars are very limited in production. I think they only made like 1,000 or something like that.
How about the 993 GT2?
That's not attainable.
I mean,
when it came out.
Wait.
That's not attainable.
You see the point I'm trying to make? The 993 GT2 came out and it was worth a lot less than it is now. So it's appreciated.
Oh, yeah, it's appreciated. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, it's appreciated.
And that's what some of the people in the chat may not see.
I mean, look at a Ferrari 360 Challenge from like 2000. Them things finna start taking off.
Oh, yeah. I think that was the last manual, right? Oh, no, the fourth. No, that was the last manual.
430. And that's going to be it's going to be worth so much.
Yeah.
But if you know, you know.
Yeah. I think yeah, you can't get a California T for under 40K, but
the Enzo Ferrari, that's like $1 million car.
But you can get a Maserati Gran Turismo for around 40K.
I don't know if those are going to pick up. I don't know if Maserati Gran Turismos are going to pick up like that.
Yeah, unless you're talking about a Stradale. Stradale may do that.
Maserati kind of doesn't have the best reputation amongst those circles, though.
Well, because it's kind of a hodgepodge of Ferrari parts and you know, poor engineering, but it's just a matter of if you could wrench yourself, man. If you can turn the wrench yourself, man, you might make out well with it.
Yeah, but do you want to be dealing with those Maserati, Italian electric schematic?
Yeah, you're gonna be turning that wrench a lot.
You're gonna be when you say turning a wrench, if you mean banging your head against the wall, I totally agree.
Yo, some of them cars you gotta have special tools that you can only buy from the manufacturer.
Yeah, you have to have all sorts of certifications from Maserati.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's Black Shingo says, "What's the point of a car if you don't drive it?" Because it becomes an asset. It becomes an asset. You know, an E30, like we were talking about last week, man. Those things used to go for about maybe 20, 25 grand. Now they're up to 100 grand. So if you've been holding on to that thing, you haven't driven it. You're gonna make out like a bat out of hell, man. With the dough, man, because.
Yeah, but the thing about this type of stuff is I dislike coming from the money angle because that's not why I got into cars.
No, it isn't.
A lot of people in the chat, again, I can't see the chat, but just from the vibe I'm getting from what you guys are saying, a lot of people only want to see it from the money angle. And again, like I said, if you're getting into cars as a business proposition, you probably, to me, you shouldn't be in this industry because that's like getting.
Tie City's in the industry, so.
What is it? What is? I wasn't talking specifically about Ty City. I don't know what he does. So, oh yeah, he buys and sells cars, right?
Yeah, I flip parts
You
and stuff.
still have the passion for cars, though.
Yeah, see, a lot of people they'll go and get an expensive car to impress women. Like they're not really into the car. They like what cars, the look that they can
You can
get.
tell. You can tell Ty City has a passion just from the picture of that 240Z that he showed us. Like, if anyone else who was just into the cars specifically for money, otherwise didn't even like driving them, if they saw that 240, they wouldn't even look twice at it.
Listen, whoever put that out there, they knew that Ty City was in the area, and they left it out there. They said, one of these days, this nigga gonna come by.
Yo, the suspension on that car is unbelievable. It's got some components that I've never seen before. And whoever had it got IMSA bodywork on it.
IMSA.
Yeah, old stuff on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I used to get mad when people be like, used to like try to say little slick shit about being into cars and stuff, but I just feel like you're just not allowed to be into different stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Again, I would tell them to say that to Jay Leno's face.
Well, there's a difference, and I think there's a difference, and I think Ty City's hitting the nail on the head on this. Is that in the black community, black men are supposed to be a monolith, and you're not allowed to deviate from the perceived masculinity that black men are supposed to have, which is why we did the hangout on manufacturing masculinity, because it doesn't allow you to actually indulge in things that other groups of people get to indulge upon, and it's not a big deal to them. When I go
Here's something I would argue over that. If you already have the masculinity, then it's okay if you're in the cars. Because throughout my life over the years, I've seen black males be in the cars, and they were never like chastised for it or anything like that.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not saying that you don't have any. I mean, I know you have T-Pain momos out there, but it's not the same as like what we're talking about right now, man. The passion culture is not really there. For us, man, the way how I got into racing, I talked about this before. The way I got into racing was through RC cars because we couldn't afford go-karts and stuff like that. There was no place to drive things like that. For Complex, man, on the West Coast, he was able to get into go-kart racing, which got him to where he is right now. But California is a completely different culture, so they're able to have that sort of elasticity in terms of what is considered to be masculine and what's considered to be cultured. And for guys like Ty City, myself, and some other guys, man, you get shamed and spat on for liking cars and knowing the details behind it. What kind of suspension, what kind of bushings go on there.
Yeah, like like I cringe when I hear somebody say rims. Like I cringe. It makes like they don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? A wheel is a simple machine. You know what I'm saying? Like you learn this in science, but you'll still say rim. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but here's the problem, Ty. The problem is that if you go to some of these actual websites, like that actually sell quote unquote wheels, a lot of times they'll market them as rims.
Yeah, I know. It's I know.
Yeah. So while Ty grinding his teeth, man, at cats on the block, he not going after the dealerships.
Yeah.
Would you argue that it also depends on the type of car they see us in? Like if it's a Caprice Classic or like a Chevy,
box Chevy,
any kind of old school Chevy, or like a Chevelle, or with a big block in it. Something.
I'm gonna tell you something. Like I love American Land Cruisers from 59 to 77. Like I love those cars.
Me too. Love Land Cruisers.
I own a two-door Grand Marquis 77. A two-door model is extremely rare. I own one and I love it. I drive it, but like when I drive that car, it's a.
I thought you meant a Toyota Land Cruiser.
Nah, I would own one of the early Land Cruisers though, but I like cars is a wide scope. Like I'm not limited to just like Japanese cars, you know what I'm saying? Like I like all kinds of cars, but like the American cruisers from the late 50s to the mid 70s are just you couldn't build those cars anymore. Like all those cars were put together by hand with very primal machinery. Like it would be very expensive. And I think the value of those cars are gonna start creeping up too because just just from the overall manufacturing, like they're gonna appreciate also.
Mhm.
I'll say this. You'll get props for rolling up in a McLaren or a Lamborghini, but you might be better off keeping like the really, really deep details about the car to yourself.
Mhm.
You know what? As being a black man, whenever I had my RX-7, right? When I owned my RX-7, the
You got
the
that
only
deep?
thing that the only thing that peeved me was being black. Like people don't expect you to know about it. They want to buy it. Hey, you want to sell it? And you be like, no, I don't want to sell it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because they
Honestly,
assume you're ignorant. They assume you're ignorant.
Yes, that's my
sometimes
only
like
pet peeve.
sometimes like in the FRS, that's not really a well-known car to normal people. So people will be looking at my car like, what is that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Well, 'cause let me ask you this: what prompted you to get the FRS over the Subaru variant?
Over the what?
Over the Subaru variant.
Well, they're both the same thing, but the FRS was cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They,
And I was totally fine with having a Scion over the Subaru. I was totally fine with that.
you know what? I had a GTS Corolla, the older rear wheel drive A86,
Right.
and I love that thing. I haven't driven the FRS.
You need to.
You know what car I love the most, and I know it was slow, man. When I had my Miata, man, that car was so much fun because even though it was slow, you can carry so much speed into the corners. You know,
That's a
and
momentum
it
car.
was just so light. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
I can't fit in a Miata.
Yeah,
How
I
come?
can't either.
And you know what? I'm gonna tell you this. You know, speaking of the manufactured masculinity, I remember when I had my Miata, I had a great one, and people would ask me, "Why are you in that car? You should be in a something bigger.
Hmm.
You too big." They would tell me I was, and I'm not a big guy, but they would say, "Oh, you're too big for that car. Why are you
You
driving
know
that
what?
car?
When
You know, you should
my,
get this and you should get that."
my
You know,
Starlet was like that because my Starlet is real little, but I'm 6'3" and I fit in it just fine. It was just,
Yeah.
I guess it was designed that way for a bigger
Yeah,
person.
that
But
thing's high-tech.
Well,
when
how
I
tall
got out of
you? How tall are you, Ellis?
I'm 5'8".
Oh well, yeah, you and Super Triz are around the same height. But I'm the same height as Ty City, man, and I get a lot of flack from my Volkswagen too, both my Volkswagens. So it's crazy, man. Black people's perception of things that are external to the community is very it's very narrow, man, and quite
And
honest.
see,
To be
that's
honest,
why. Go ahead.
and to be honest, man, that's what damages a lot of experiences for black people, especially black men. They can't venture out. They can't do anything because you're kept in sort of this little box, man. It's like you have
And
to like this and this.
that's why I said you'll get props if you roll up in a McLaren, Lamborghini, or Mercedes S Class.
Well, because
Or
it's expensive, right? It's expensive, but they're not thinking about the intricate details behind it, man.
or like an old Chevy Nova, like nice paint job, big thumping engine, stuff like that.
Yeah, they don't appreciate cars in the way that we do, man. We respect the rotary engine and
Mm-hmm.
you know the notchback 5.0 Mustang, man, Fox body and all that, man. I don't know if
Yeah,
you guys like it.
I don't.
but the Fox body Mustang was a nice car, and
I don't respect the rotary engine.
Say that again, Super Tris.
I don't respect the rotary engine. I think it's a waste of research and development.
wow,
Hold on for a
whoa,
second.
Shots fired.
whoa,
Hold on.
whoa,
Let me tell you.
what else?
Let me tell you why.
oh
Let me
my
tell you why.
God.
Let me state my argument before you catch this. Before you catch the
Let's
smoke.
get it.
Right?
Oh my God.
Okay. Listen, just real quick. Right. I like the rotary engine. I like the design. I like the way it sounds. I like everything about it. But here's the problem: Mazda is too small of a car manufacturer to be spending money on research and
You
development
know
for
what
an
they
engine that they're not going to
did
be.
in
Hold on,
Lamar? What?
hold on. But they too small of a
They
company
got
to be spending
banned.
R&D dollars
Wow.
on an engine,
Holy
on an
moly.
engine, on an
Hold on,
engine.
Ty.
Hold
Hold
on,
on,
in the
Ty.
engine,
Oh,
on an
I'm
engine
on
in this
fire.
day and age.
I
On
am
this,
on
on this,
fire.
hold on this day and age, cafe, corporate average fuel economy, and EPA age. To be
Oh my!
spending that
Oh,
type
you
of
one of
money.
those people? Come
Oh,
No,
on,
hold on,
bro.
hold on. We got to think about it from a business standpoint, right? If you're not going to be able to take that engine and amortize the costs across multiple vehicles, it's a waste of money. They'd be better off taking that money and spend it and develop an inline six, a smooth, silky smooth inline six with a lot of power, and make a RX-7 based off of that. Because I'm telling you, it's a money pit. It doesn't
Are
make
you
any
done?
sense.
That's
Yeah,
not
okay, I'm done.
necessarily. I mean,
Are
yeah,
you?
the RX-7
Wait,
is definitely gonna lose. The rotary engine is definitely gonna lose in terms of like an environmental friendliness and this, that, and the other, because they don't have good gas mileage, especially for their engine size, and you really have to know a thing or two about them in order so that they don't blow up on you.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Wow!
I've worked with rotaries before. I haven't rebuilt them, but I've worked
rebuilt. I do rotary engines all day long, and for
like you will be okay dealing with rotary engines, but for the masses, like the type of person that buys a freaking Ford Escape, they're not going to know anything about rotary engines and is going to die on them at 50,000 miles, and then they're going to be like, "Fuck Mazda."
Do you know what a rotary does for weight distribution and just
Again, most
smoothness?
people don't give a shit about weight distribution.
I know. The rotary engine is super small, super compact, especially in a front engine car. You can put that shit right up against the firewall. It's gonna behave like a mid-engine car.
Right.
I understand all that, but the problem is with that, especially now with these doggone EPA and CAFE that we can't avoid. Right?
Yeah.
You spending all that money to research and develop an engine to make it compliant in this day and age. That's way too much money for Mazda to be spending. Way too much.
It would be way too hard. It would be too hard for them to make a rotary be able to do that.
And then on top of that, you're gonna sell how many RX whatever 9 or whatever you're gonna put on it. How many of those are you gonna sell? Are you gonna get your money back?
Yeah, if Mazda was a bigger company, you'd be able to.
I got him, Mike. Ty City Quiet. I got him.
No, you don't got me. I know. I know the potential. I know it. Oh my god.
Yeah, but Ty, like in order for you to recognize,
it's like it's like we talk about an engine that has. Wow. They banned the engine.
We know about the legendary 3 and 4 rotor race engines. We know, yes, they're good engines, but I'm telling you, in this day and age, Mazda will go bankrupt fooling around with the doggone rotary.
I'll tell you, like in order for you to sell the rotary to people, you have to explain how the engine works. And once you start doing that,
and you know what? From just a practicality from a practical standpoint, I understand what you're saying. But the rotary engine per liter and the power you can get out of it's just
with a turbo.
It's awesome, man.
But hold on, but see that the per liter, when we talk about the displacement, it's gonna be like a 1.3 liter for the typical rotary engine, like a 2 rotor. But the problem is that where you going? 1010? 1010? I'm going to 1010. Oh, go ahead. You can go. All right, go ahead. Yeah. So, but see, the problem with the 1.3 liter, if you had an equivalent 1.3 liter piston engine,
it won't. No, don't even go. I know you're going there. It won't even. Not even close.
Now, the power output, yes, is going to be more, right? But when we talk about the actual fuel economy, this day and age, this 2019, it's not.
As soon as you tell someone that you have to mix a certain amount of oil in every time you put gas in it, or once every couple trips to the gas station, they're going to be like, "What the fuck? You have to put oil in the gas too?"
Yes, you do. Yes,
Yeah,
you do.
if you tell someone that, that's a little bit too much for them.
I mean, you got people who drive miles just to get E85.
The only people that do that,
Cut it out, man.
Huh?
Cut it out, man.
Hey, listen, y'all trying to make me admit that the rotary is practical. That's crazy.
No, we want you to admit that the rotary is dead. Period. The rotary is going away in the dodo bird. Let it go, Ty.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Ty, let it go. Ty, you gotta let it go.
Hey, let me tell you something. The rotary engine, as long as there is racing, the rotary engine ain't going nowhere. Sorry.
Oh man, cut it out, man. See now you.
when was the last class you've seen a rotary engine run besides the Goodwood Festival of Speed?
They compete in drag racing every year. NHRA all day long.
Yeah. Guess
in
what?
Puerto Rico?
We didn't even talk about Puerto Rico.
Ty, we can go to a drag strip and see a jet engine car. Doesn't mean that jet. Listen, come on.
Let me tell you something. The top time attack cars run rotaries.
Not all of them.
Okay, I'm just telling you, Aria Mamaya and all of them.
One RX-7, and then there might be a Miata drift car with a rotary.
Wait. Are we serious? Time attack don't count. You got to be on a track with other drivers. I don't want to hear about no time attack.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Wow is right. Come on, I want that smoke.
Okay, well I guess the time around the track don't count.
In the grand scheme of things, I mean it's cute. Yeah, we like it. We use the time
because
attack.
All I hear y'all talk about is Nuremberg.
Time attack is a benchmark.
Man.
It's a benchmark. But how
you said Nuremberg? It should be Nürburgring.
Hey, with Nürburgring, though, you're out there with regular cars, so you're out there on track with like, a diesel BMW or whatever.
Yeah, but you're not necessarily like competing when you're doing your time attack, your Nürburgring time attack.
Still on the road. Still on with other cars.
Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and let y'all bash rotary engines. I'm not gonna let it happen. Not on my watch.
See, rotary engines don't exist in a vacuum, though. You have to consider the environment and the business strategy of it. And with those two things against it, it can't win because it does win with the performance, but it's not environmentally friendly.
No, it's not.
We can't make a business case for it.
Well, no. Here's how you can make a business case.
You know what? Wait. Didn't Volkswagen just have a big issue with their emissions?
Yeah, look at what happened to them.
Yeah, they had to pay like $8 billion settlement.
Mazda never had to pay that much.
Yeah, Mazda's not a big company.
Mazda's not even big enough to do that.
If Mazda had to pay $8 billion, it's over.
But what I'm saying is that was a dirty engine, though, right?
We're talking about VW, which owns Audi, Porsche.
Hey, they made a dirty engine that wasn't. It wasn't. That's what I'm saying, right?
Seat, they own Skoda.
It really,
a lot of crap.
All right,
it really wasn't just Volkswagen that got caught in this. It was Mercedes and BMW diesel power plants that got the same thing. Ford of Europe.
Why didn't they come down on Mazda?
Because Mazda didn't do that.
Well, because you're the lawyer for Mazda, Ty City.
Hey, listen.
Here's the issue, though. Here's the issue, right?
I agree.
Mazda is a different class of car. So Mazda is trying to push themselves into the luxury stratosphere, but they're having some trouble because of brand cachet. But here's the issue: Mazda's diesel, like they have a diesel engine, right? And they're trying to bring stateside, which is going to be a failure as well. Their Mazda diesel that you're trying to bring over here is going to be a failure. But
what are they bringing it in?
Huh? You said what?
What are they bringing it in?
They're trying to put the diesel in the Mazda 6. This is just who's running Mazda. I don't know who's running Mazda.
I don't even know.
Ford to be honest, their shares, man. So
listen, to be honest, I'm gonna tell you this: the RX-8, right, is an awesome chassis. The engine that's in it, I'll admit, the Renaissance version of the rotary engine is just garbage.
Oh, but listen to this: the Mazda RX-8 also has 4 doors, and it has a back seat.
It's not a sports car.
What
Oh
is
my
it then?
God.
Wait. What is it then?
I don't know what the fuck that shit is.
Oh my God.
Car.
The fade.
It's a
I'm-
hermaphrodite. But here's the
Hey,
thing.
hey,
Check this out.
okay, check this out. It don't have a full door in the back.
It's still
So
it's still hinged. It's still hinged. But hold on, let me tell you this. I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna tell you how a rotary engine can work. I'm gonna tell you.
I can tell you how they work all day long.
let me
No,
listen to
I'm
Super
gonna tell you
Chris.
how it could work economically. Economically, it could work if you develop a rotary engine, you put it in the RX-7, but then you take that same rotary engine and you make a hybrid based on the rotary engine driving some type of generator or whatever, and make electric power so you can put it in other cars. Because if you only put it in an RX car, it's gonna bankrupt Mazda.
No, we won't never see another RX. It won't be the rotary.
Okay. I have to say this. The rotary that powers the generator for the hybrid has to be different from the rotary that is in the sports car for your business case, because in order for the rotary to power a generator, it would have to spin at too high of an RPM to justify the amount of gas.
You wouldn't make the low end torque that you would need either.
Because exactly, that's what I'm saying. You would have to redesign the rotary. You would have to redesign the rotary completely so that it can make peak power at a low RPM.
Well, I think that if you can like take the rotary, you would have to be able to share some of the R&D. Like maybe if you can take the rotary and make some modifications to where you can make it a generator. But like if you have to redesign an entirely new rotor
and for the record, the rotary is German technology, by the way.
Well, Paul Bryan's not here.
Dr. Felix Wankel.
He said Paul Bryan's not here. You don't have to count up.
Yeah, but guess what? Germans abandoned the technology for good reason. Thai City.
Oh, it's Thai City got them hands, man. He got them hands.
Hey, you know what? You know what? I'm beyond. I'm not even. It's not even there for me. I just think about all the Mustangs I roasted in my RX-7. Like I don't. That you just bringing back memories.
Ty, just lay on the mat and take your 10 count.
No, man, I'm telling you.
Lay on the mat and take your 10 count.
No,
don't get up.
Listen. The rotary in a racing application, like you just come pound for pound is just come on, man. I'm not going there.
Okay, so listen. Now you're moving the goalpost.
I ain't moving the goalpost.
You got to be able to listen. You got to be able to sell that car.
They sold plenty.
And turn the profit. Today.
No, they're not doing that with a rotary today.
We're not talking about 1994. I'm talking about today.
You have to turn the profit on something where you have to literally mix the oil in with the gas every once in a while.
I thought they only did that.
And that's if you take and that's if you take the factory metering out of it, is when you have to add the oil.
So Ty, let me ask you something, man. What are you gonna do when cars go fully electric and there's no third pedal?
Are you crazy? You think I don't care if they go for? I'll be somewhere on the back roads with a I mean with some petrol. Hopefully it drive gas all the way down to like 10 cents a gallon.
You're crazy.
I'll just get a Tesla Model S.
Yeah, I don't know why Ty is avoiding the new technology, man. He's like
because I know where it's going. Y'all willing to step in the box with no steering wheel and just let something just whisk you off somewhere. I ain't going.
Yeah. You know what? Ty is right. We are in the last hurrah. Like our generation right now, we're the last. Like enjoy the C8, enjoy the Porsche Boxster, enjoy these while you can.
They on the way out.
This is going going away. Like our kids and our kids.
That's when we all start learning how to fly. So
the fun is gonna be gone, and you're gonna be like, back in my day, we used to be able to sling a car around when we wanted to.
And people will be like, "Why would you do that?"
driving. You're gonna be like, driving. What is driving? Well, son, we
You
used
mean driver, like installing a driver on my computer?
yeah, it had this thing called a key. You put in this thing called ignition, it'll start the engine. I'm
Well, I
not
think
ready for that.
Well, you know what, Ty? Your son will be the last generation that actually gets a license. That's it. After your son's generation, man, that's it. It won't be any more licenses given out.
Exactly.
that's bogus.
And you know what? I'll be holding on for dear life to I'm not going, man. I know it. I know the technology is gonna be great. It's gonna be wonderful for the environment,
It's
but
going to be wonderful for the coders and software developers that make it.
I've enjoyed cars my whole life. I can't imagine not having control of a vehicle. Just I don't know, man. I understand the utility of vehicles, but
You better
now
start riding more roller coasters.
Well, because Ty looks at it just like Rick James looked at Eddie Murphy's couch.
yep, yep.
Fuck your couch, fuck the environment.
And that's me.
Yeah,
I mean,
you the guy that takes the runs a full cat back and has all the smog coming out of it, breaking the emissions.
You're the
yep,
guy where every time you shift gears, there's a puff of black smoke that comes out.
yep.
I actually love that.
Yeah.
That's me.
Thai City rolls cold like they do in Texas.
Oh yeah,
Yep. I had an F-250 6-liter diesel. Yep.
Thai City has a steam engine that he shovels coal into.
No. Hey, I'll hit the brakes on that.
I like steam engines.
we,
Is there anyone here that likes trains?
yeah.
You
I
say
do.
what? Then? Say what?
Yeah, I like. Does anyone have trains? We should
Yeah,
have.
I
we
used to have
got
model.
trains.
I used to have model trains.
Yeah, I used to have a
But train is the originator of the
hybrid
technology. That's the
Yep.
originator.
Yep.
Because they don't have a direct connection to the actual engine or whatever you want to call it, generator.
And that's kind of because they need the torque in order to move all that load.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Well, I mean, Ty, you don't absolutely have to have autonomous vehicle. You probably won't see that for some time, man, because the infrastructure here doesn't really support, autonomous vehicles
But check
thoroughly
this out.
in the way. Yeah.
Here's the issue, Mike. Well,
Yeah.
a lot of these millennials have an aversion to owning vehicles, and then as things get more expensive, what I foresee is an autonomous ride sharing model.
Oh yeah. I'm a millennial, but I agree with you.
Well, what I'm saying here is that because to your point about millennials not owning cars, not because they don't want to, it's because they can't afford them.
Okay, true.
Because
I think it's because they don't care.
No, well, the repo rates are down from 90 days down to 45 days. Millennials can't afford cars. We did a whole hangout covering this.
I can't imagine getting in a contraption with somebody I don't even know, like just to be hauled up. No way, bro.
Well, I mean, that's
It's a taxi cab.
Yeah, well, it's no different than getting on the bus. No different than getting on the train.
Not either.
You kind of antisocial anyway, so that makes sense. But
Yep. Crazy old man, Steve.
yeah, man. But I mean, at some point they're going to start taxing petrol-based cars, man. If you put out a certain amount of CO2,
You know what? I buy a lot of cars out of California because in California you have to. I'm pretty sure y'all know you got to pay the back registration on it before you can register it in California again. I buy a lot of cheap cars out of California because the smog and the emissions, they can't put them back on the road.
well, Boston, I shouldn't say Boston, Massachusetts and New York, man, are talking that by 2045 there will be no petrol cars registered on the roads of these states. 2045, they're calling for.
Yeah, they're following behind the European plan. I want to say within the next, I don't know the exact, I can't remember the exact date, but what they're doing is they're going to do a gradual rollout. First, they're going to start with cars have to be 10 years or newer.
and then it's gonna jump up to 7 years or newer. Then it's gonna go to where if you're in like a major metropolitan area like Frankfurt, Munich, Berlin, or whatever, you can't even have a combustion engine.
Right. In Africa, I was reading an article some months ago. Africa is talking about by 2060 there will be no petrol cars to be purchased in Africa. So
Yeah, people are
sad
about
times
this too.
From my cold dead hands.
oh yeah, they'll just tell
That's
you.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We all need to learn how to fly planes because that's like the next step from driving cars, riding motorcycles, which they might take that away too.
Mhm.
The next step is flying planes.
Well, they're gonna go after the Harleys first. Those are the guys that make the most amount of noise. Then they'll come after the sport bikes.
Yeah, because those are the scarier ones when they fly past you.
Yeah, and then they'll go after the dirt bikes. You know, all your black millennials riding around on dirt bikes and stuff like that.
And they want to automate everything. Then they'll go after the bicycles. No, not the bicycles.
Nah. You know what? They got the rent bicycles you could just hop on and ride after you swipe your card here in Dallas.
See, and that's that thing where
Bike
everyone
share.
is viewing vehicles as appliances.
Yeah, bike share. Yeah, bike share.
You know,
cool.
but you know that bike share is a eyesore and a nuisance because these people get these bikes.
They got rid of
And
a
then,
lot
I
of
don't
them
know.
here for that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just throw them around, like they just see them, and they got the ride share scooters too, like the little that the stand scooters that you
Yeah,
stand
they
on,
have them over here
and
too.
with electric motor on it, and it's like these people just throw them down like you see them on the side of the freeway.
Well, because I think sometimes when if it goes by mileage for certain ones, then you know the bike locks up and you can't ride it anywhere.
But on the freeway though.
Yeah, well, I don't know why anybody would be on the freeway with those, but
You
Hey, I've
see?
seen
You have
people
vagrants. You have
You see?
vagrants that take these
riding
bikes.
bikes on the expressway.
You
I've
see?
definitely
You see?
No, what happened is you have the vagrants that have their little tent setups. I don't know. In Seattle, you have vagrants all over the place. So you have vagrants like on the freeways. You got to be careful because, like in certain areas, you have vagrants that'll just walk across the freeway, and you'll end up hitting them.
What do they
So
have
what
to
they
lose?
do is they take these rideshare bikes over there to their little tent area, and then they just leave it there because you can't ride it anymore once the wheel locks on. So they just leave it there. Somebody got to come pick it up.
well, unless they plan on popping a wheelie all the way, around. But
it's not an actual. Actually, you have to do an endo.
oh yeah,
because it's the back wheel that locks up.
now this makes me brings me to the last question. Ty City, do you own a Honda Grom?
No. No. I had a ZX6R one time, and I look goofy on that. I'm too tall.
The Grom is usually like somebody's first bike. That's like somebody who just trying to get into the bike and trying to get on a motorcycle and get on the motorcycle cheap. It's usually somebody's first bike.
Yeah, but if you
I would never buy a Grom.
Yeah, but if you let Ty City tell you, man, you think he was Dikembe Mutombo or some shit like that, man. Like, he just can't find a car that he could fit into one of those Datsun, but then he looks at a Grom. He's like, oh, I'm just too big for that. I look goofy. They say you look goofy in those Datsuns too. Well, what's the difference?
In the 240.
Ty City, why don't you get you one of those adventure bikes because those sit up real high.
KTM.
BMW makes a tall bike, and I think Suzuki still makes the GX adventure bike sit up real high for you. High inseam.
Just get a Honda Goldwing.
Yeah. Well, let me close this out because we're way over time right now from the. I'm surprised that anybody else didn't join us, but this was actually.
They didn't want this smoke. They didn't want this smoke. They heard me up here. They heard me up here giving Ty the business, and they didn't want no parts of it.
Yeah. This was actually dope, man. Piece of the panel, and
yeah. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, no doubt, man. If you have not already hit the like button, man, hit the like button now. Hit the subscription or subscribe button so you can get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust by hitting the notification bell. And We'll be back tomorrow night with a special economics topic on global reparations. So
Sounds good.
Buy more sports cars.
yeah, yeah. Ty City got all the smoke he can handle tonight, and that's why he's on mute. All right, peace, everyone else, man. Shalom.
All right, peace.
Deuces.